Canadian Roundtable. We're here tonight with Chris and Frederick. We're going to be covering a bunch of different topics tonight, likely, mostly to do with Canada, obviously, but a few other things to do with, the UK, the EU, etc. But, I'm just going to wait until a few more people get into the chat or whatnot, a few more people get in here before I start showing more content. But let me check out, see who's here. Hey, Faye, how's it going? Hey, Pakistani Penguin, how's it going, buddy? Diamond, what's up? John, Southern, it's a few people who are in the chat so far. Is that an incoming white supremacy stream I smell? Yes, that is. You're exactly like Tariq Fatah or something. You can just smell racist and white supremacist everywhere, right?
AJ, can you
says no notifications again. What'd you say?
Sorry, can you let Chris in?
Oh, Chris is
yeah, he's in the waiting room.
Okay, there we go.
I had a boomer moment.
Right.
So yeah. My
Chris
fault.
is back.
I'm back. Yeah.
He's back in black.
I am.
Both. Hi AJ. hey Jay Zima. I don't know. It just came to mind.
That's
even
okay.
if you weren't black, I would have said that.
That's okay. That's okay. In this case,
yeah. I know. I watched it. She lives again right now. Hey Gary Quemper. I hope that's Lauren Southern, how's it going, brother? But yeah, it looks like I got a few people in here already. So, I guess I'll start off with a little bit of comedic levity or something. I got this one video from this African guy questioning this gay or trans girl or something about being gay. And I just wish we were back at this state, when it comes to, our wokeness, when it comes to gay people and shit, because it's just, we've gone too far. And I wish we weren't so woke and be like, oh, well, that's not gay. That's gender is different from biology or something like that. Gender is different from what do they say? Gender is different from what's the
sex,
other thing?
Or
sex.
Yeah,
this and that. And it's like this guy, he's just like clearly ignorant. It's just funny interview, but I'll play it for you guys here. Let's see. Oh, it goes so big. Hold on a second. Let me turn it up a little bit. Because I won't be able to hear it. All right.
The gay rights activist, Mr. Should I call you Mr.? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
nice.
You are gay.
He's like, why are you gay? Who says I'm gay?
You are a
Oh.
transgender.
What shows that I'm gay?
You are a transgender, and you're a gay rights activist and an outspoken lesbian, homosexual. How can I describe you? We're looking at the raging debate. You're a gay rights activist. Why should someone be gay? You're having a girlfriend.
Yes.
Do you perform the natural obligations?
I'm not sexually active right now.
So what are
By
you doing with
choice.
this lady?
By choice.
By choice.
I've just not. I've chosen not to engage.
Choice or because you can't find a partner?
Gay.
What do you mean? Doesn't that make me gay? I am male and attracted to a female.
So who is gay?
I'm gay.
Oh god. I just had to see that. But for that was more of a comedic note. But for something more serious, I came across this video today, and you just see this constant. I hear an echoing in the background from somebody's screen.
That's not me. But Fred, are you using voice meter again?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I don't know, AJ.
Okay. All right. So I saw this on Twitter, and it's I don't know where it's from exactly. I think San Francisco. This is, why don't we murder more white people? Is a gallery installation and film being displayed at YBCA Public Square on Saturday. So we generate culture that moves people. June 1st, 2 to 6 p.m. in San Francisco, California. Tickets are on sale now. Thank you to everyone who has supported me in this work. So this is a pretty crazy video. And, just replace the word white with any other race. And people would be calling for this as hate speech and would be like saying, we need to censor this immediately, and this is terrible. This is going to instigate violence, blah, blah, blah. But, this is only a part of the video. I went to the actual full video on YouTube, and it's removed. So it's completely removed. So, I'm sure, like, even that, they had to take that down. But I would have liked to have seen it,
All right, hold on. Is it recording? Yeah. All right. Why don't we murder more white people? Take one.
I think we don't murder more white people because it's very dangerous to do so. The ways that people.
Oh, so because
that earlier woman looks like she's been crossbred with some ape on Dr. Moreau's island. Jesus Christ! That one, not this one, the other one.
What'd she say too? She's like, the only because it's dangerous, or because something bad could happen to us. Yeah, because it's very dangerous to do so. It's not even has nothing to do with morality, not because it's wrong or we shouldn't do that. Well, because it's dangerous. If it wasn't so dangerous, I would be murdering them every fucking day, right? That's what I hear from that woman.
The ways that people of color are murdered psychologically, right? Murder.
Get rid of your fucking degree.
And their expression of.
because she's gonna say something about people tell her she's not allowed to wear her hair the way it is or something like that. That's what she's probably thinking about.
I think white people are terrified of me. I'm not, for the most part, a fearful looking man, but I notice that whenever I go somewhere across the street,
I'm angry at white people most of the time.
Why? What do we do to you? Nothing. And they always say, we're not mad at you, white people. They're not mad at you because you're this or that. It's like, well, it sounds like right now they're mad at all white people. They're saying white people, not like the rich white people that are in control of creating the system of oppression that we're living in. Saying that, they're like white people. So, because they always gaslight you with that shit. And they're always like, no. We're not saying all white people. Why are you complaining? We're not talking about you. It's like, well, why are you saying white people then? Why are you just using that? Why are you saying that like, I don't know, Jews or something? No, I'm kidding. But the specific people are individuals, right? Or the white people with a lot of money, at the very least. I don't know.
Right. No differentiation.
At the very least, right? But it's almost done. Collective safety, political power, collective safety for whom? I guess not white people. Fucking crazy. Fucking communists. This is taxpayer funded too in America, right? So.
Yeah. Probably funded by the state or by the city, if it's San Francisco. Yeah. Oh boy,
that's just ridiculous. Though it's amazing to see that type of shit.
No, to your point about how there's no differentiation there. I mean, that's like something where you should be using a scalpel, but you're using a club. And there's going to be unintended consequences because eventually they'll have to correct themselves. Oh no, I didn't mean you, or maybe they did mean you. Like maybe they meant all of them, or maybe they just really did mean those ones, like you said, the ones who are controlling everything. Who knows?
Well,
but I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Right. I hear that when I'm arguing with some people about that, and they're like, "No, we're talking. They're not talking about you. You're just a poor, stupid white roofer." It has no blah. I'm like, well, I don't know. It seems like even me, I'm being demonized. It's not like they're just focusing on the rich upper class bourgeois white people or something, right? No, it's kind of being applied to everybody. And ask those people. I wonder if they're gonna say, "Oh, it's not just the bourgeois or whatever type." No, it's being bred. It's being not bred, but moved around the media or propagandized. Like I have another piece from, I think it's CNN, analysis: white Republican men are greatest terrorist threat in U.S. Right. So, there's a clear reason why people feel this way. Right. It's not for no reason. It's not like out of nowhere, and people are just people of color just hate white people naturally, or just don't dislike us for no fucking reason. It's it's years of propaganda. It's years of TV, movies, all this other fucking shit.
Sure. Yeah, it's not without some justification, but I think that people need to still to avoid things swinging too far one way or the other. Like, this has to be tempered in a way that it's not going to cause a backlash the other way. I mean, there has to be, at some point, we just have to find a way if we're going to be together, then let's find a way we're able to work together and be peaceful with each other, and not like, okay, you guys are kicking us, so now we get to kick you. Like, that's not constructive.
Exactly.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It feels like people, it's revenge. It's like, oh, well, you did it to us, now we get to do it to you, and blah blah blah. And you're like, that's not, an eye for an eye leaves the world fucking blind, right? At the end of the day, like, it's no good for anybody if these things continue on and people keep killing each other. Many of conflicts have been avoided just through forgiveness. People being like, okay, well, I'm not gonna retaliate to your family for killing my son or something, because that just creates like this cyclical thing that lasts forever, right? So it's the first person who decides, okay, I'm gonna be the bigger man, and then people feel like oh, well, I don't want to be the bigger man. Why do we always have to be the bigger man? Well, it's like, well, I don't know, somebody's got to fucking do it at the end of the day, right? But it's ridiculous. But so this is CNN, they're consistently pushing this anti-white narrative. People like Don Lemon has said the similar things as well. White men are the greatest threat or something in America or something, right? And more and more, they're trying to, I think, make the average or somewhat off-centered conservative feel like a what do you call it, like an extremist or something, right? And those people are even being centered now, or being attacked like they're far right when they're really not. Like what do you call it, the Proud Boys and this and these groups that are being attacked and deemed like white supremacist groups and stuff. They have like black and brown people in their groups, but like, it doesn't matter, right? It makes no difference. But here's the clip from CNN. I haven't really watched it.
Of whom he's picking. There are a lot of Democrats who believe the kinds of things that these two do. They just don't look like them.
Chris, we're back to this identity politics. This is the worst kind of thing.
But you don't think that this is a play for him?
Doing identity politics.
They picked themselves, Chris. The fact of the matter is, these members of Congress have decided to stand up and speak out for the Democratic caucus. Nancy Pelosi can't even control these folks. This has nothing to do with the color of their skin. This has everything to do with the fact that they are supporting terrorist organizations in Israel. But nobody even knew what the BDS was before we started hearing about all this stuff. We need to be very, very careful here. This is unfortunately about politics.
Terrorism.
Politics is about elections. This isn't about terrorism.
Let's talk about terrorism.
This is about
Let's talk about terrorism. You know who the greatest terrorists are in this country?
These two have taken over the Democratic Party, hijacked it from their own speaker.
You think they're taking it over, Angela?
Interesting. It's so interesting that you use the term for the only two Muslim women in Congress. The term you chose to use, sir, is hijacking. Oh, really?
You can't even speak to a fucking leftist without them like hijacking. Oh, it's because they're Muslim, right? Hijacking. Super careful when you speak to these fucking people. But this guy's probably an Israel shill anyways, also. So, I don't really give a shit. But here, she's probably going to go in with her terrorist threat. She was going to say it earlier, but she stopped.
Chose to use the term hijacking. I beg to differ, and I absolutely because they hijacked the party your remarks from their own principles. That's a real interesting word choice, and you understand why. The Democratic Party. You can talk over me all you want to, but the bottom line is the greatest terrorist group in this country are white men. White men who think like you. That is the greatest terrorist threat in this country.
You're absolutely right. It's all because of guys like me. That's rhetoric. It doesn't get us.
No, it's not. You know what's silly? The fact that you're on here knowing how dangerous times are right now, defending this nonsense, calling people these folks, talking about they hijacked the party.
Hold on one second. Let's reset the table. Reset the table. Hold on. Angela, hold on. Just to be clear, Patrick, give me a second.
It's not silly. There's nothing.
I love how they're complaining and arguing about them being barred from Israel and shit, where it's like they were happy about, I don't know, Lauren Southern or all these other right-wing people being banned from all these other countries. I'm like, hey, that's their right? Like why are you freaking out? Let Israel fucking do that shit. Not a big deal, but whatever. It's more CNN drivel nonsense. Let me check chat here.
Yeah, it seems to just be a circular argument, and I don't really see. I keep hearing this phrase, "We need to have a conversation," but let's move on. Like, these folks are not interested in actually resolving the issue. They want to keep pushing that conversation on over and over again, as opposed to actually having it and having that discussion, as painful and difficult as it may be. But I mean, these folks are the folks that you saw on that clip. There are all well compensated to be as angry as they want to be on TV, and then they're going to go off and have a drink and go to each other's parties and hang out in that Washington bubble. It's an industry of its own, an industry of outrage and hypocrisy, and it goes back and forth with every party that's in there. It's truly ridiculous.
Right.
One of the reasons why people are looking for, that's one of the reasons actually why what people started saying that podcasts have gained popularity, and even shows like this where regular people without a filter can have a conversation in an extended period where you're not worrying about a commercial break, unless I'm hosting the show and then we gotta stop every 40 minutes, but and put some funny videos in between. But other than that, I mean, it's a nice longer conversation. People, you have our chat that can add its own commentary in, and they get acknowledged. Yeah, Fred, what are your thoughts on all this? I think you're back.
I don't know if can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, so look, you're not going to have a conversation on these very biased left-leaning news sites. You might have it like we used to have conversations on the Pagan show and stuff, maybe even to this day still, but
yeah,
overall, like this is just an act, right? It's what it is P.T. Barnum's circus. That's all it is, right? It's a circus for the masses, because masses, you can get riled up pretty easy on stupid bullshit. And just to even Muhammad once says, right, the dumber the people are, the more they're going to talk about one another and what happened. The smarter ones will talk about ideas and move on, right? And this is coming from a guy who, married a 12-year-old, right? And raped and pillaged villages.
I heard she was 9, but okay. You're
not, okay, whatever. 9. You could be right? Maybe even 8. But if a guy like that can make some sense like this, then what are we looking to CNN? Like, what else do we expect from these lack of a better word, assholes, right? That's all they are, just assholes. Every single one of them. It's not that hard to be an asshole. You just got to have a head or a dickhead. What did Robin Williams once say? You just need to have a head for a dick and a neck attached to it, right? So these are all these people. Like, I can't stand to watch CNN. I don't know how people can even stand to do it, but a lot of people are in these days too lazy to think. They just watch this stuff like they watch WWE or Days of Our Lives. It's no different. They just want drama and they like it, and drama sells, right? Why would shows like Big Brother or Hell's Kitchen exist?
Well, frankly, as a Big Brother fan of over 20 years, I agree. 100%. It's 100% bread and circuses. But to your point, the quote unquote news has basically at the same level. It's the same. That's what they're competing against. And for all these guys who complain about how much they hate Donald Trump, they love talking about him because talking about Trump brings in ratings. And there's a million other things they could talk about. A million other things they could talk about. That the world is spinning, the government is running, there are bills being passed all over the place. It's how many weeks did it take for them to finally talk about the rainforest in Brazil, the Amazon burning for weeks before somebody finally mentioned it in the mainstream? But no, Trump.
Yeah,
or Andrew Scheer doesn't like gays. Like, come on. There's a million things.
See, this is the act that keeps the populace at bay from discovering the truth, that there's so much theft of the public wallet. And we'll get to that, because I was in Ottawa just today going for a walk and looking at the monies being spent, what they're digging up and renovating the Parliament Hill. And then you walk down the street to Riddle Mall, and I went to school there, was it 95 at Carlton U, and that fucking street still hasn't been it looks like absolute shit. And they're just down the street. They put up a new House Senate. They're beautifying the whole Parliament, but down the road the sidewalk hasn't been fixed in 25 fucking years. So where's all this? You know what? This is what I look at it. This is how I take it. So they're disguising the theft with shit, right? And people are the dumber the person is, the more like a fly, and they will congregate to shit, right? And that's the unfortunate part. People don't read anymore. News used to be read. It wasn't watched, right? And then we had radio. Then we moved to radio news, and then people got lazy. Reading is a lost ability, because it's very hard to sit there and read, because there's a lot of pages you have to absorb. The smartest comics out there read 3-4 papers in the morning. This is why they're so up to date with all the stuff that's going on and able to twist the stories. But overall, I think it's unfortunate that CNN exists, and it exists because of who? Not because of them, right? They exist because of us.
Well, yeah, but guess what? That applies to CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CTV News, CBC News World, all of them. Like, it's the same. There's no mainstream source, and Fox is mainstream, despite them claiming otherwise, since they have the highest ratings by far of anything. And even on Fox, they talk about how we have news and we have commentary. And it's the only one of the news stations that says, well, the news is the news, but the commentary is a commentary. It's like the commentary is kind of its own thing. And technically in a true newspaper settings, you have your editorial / comedy / comedy, your editorial / commentary or opinion section. And then you have your news, but there's still some accountability there. And with Fox, it doesn't seem like there is. It's like, yeah, okay, Hannity is obviously on the Trump train. So is Laura Ingraham, who's pretty detestable. Tucker Carlson goes off the reservation every once in a while, but he's a little different. But then the news folks will call out Trump during the day when nobody watches, and these other guys will be pro-Trump at night when everybody watches. So interesting.
Well, it's like whatever, right? Like in Canada, our media is failing, right? And they're being subsidized heavily by Canadian taxpayer dollars. So, without that, a lot of them would crumble or would start to, group together. Or like bigger ones would buy off smaller ones, and it would their power would steadily decrease. But we consistently have Trudeau, and Andrew Scheer also said that he would not take away the funding that the media is going to get, right? So, he's just going to move it around a little bit differently, not give it to Unifor or something, right? But people are still mad about paying off the media, even if Unifor isn't in charge of divvying out who, gets it or this and that, right? So it's, that's ridiculous. And yeah, like, the main thing was, what are they pushing? Like this anti-white narrative, right? Like that's what it appears like to me a lot of the times. Like that one video we saw, why shouldn't we be killing more white people? Like, what kind of ridiculous shit is that to put in a video? Why shouldn't we be killing more this people, that people? I don't even want to say it because my channel could be shut down or some shit.
Even
right?
saying that K word is something that is a risky thing on YouTube these days. Yeah, right. And I mean, these people talk about Trump's language, for example, and the language is important. Yes, the words we choose are very important. All the more reason why they shouldn't throw those terms around as callously as they do.
You know what's actually
people, because some crazy will take that the wrong way and do something terrible with it.
You know what's actually really funny? It just occurred to me is that when they get these blacks riled up like they did in the 60s and stuff, right? When they go to when they get these blacks and other groups riled up against anti-white, actually they're anti-Muslim, anti-black, because working together with the whites and all the different, we gain. If we don't work against them, everybody loses. Right. So really, it's anti-everybody, but they don't see it that way. That they're a little bit myopic, and why would they be? I honestly think that there's a severe, there's a stupefaction. That's what they're doing. That's what the media is doing. That's what the elites are doing. They're stupefying the public. So it's easy to rile up people. I've seen this happen in Croatia and Serbia. The dumber the people are, they're so easily riled up jingoistically, and they went all mental. Instead of saying, hey, who are you to tell me who I should like and who I've gotten along over generations? All of a sudden, they have to be my enemy because you said so, right? It's just fucking retarded. So, it just occurred to me that it's really not just, it may look like it's anti-white, but it's anti-everything. It's anti-society because, they're pushing the fags. They're pushing the anti-family narrative, right? And that's not just it's not just targeting white people. It's also really targeting everybody else, right? Because blacks don't have families; they incarcerate them, and then at the same time, right? I'm not saying that's not legitimate because there's a lot of crime there as well, right? But they have no interest in really benefiting or helping society at all, or promoting it. Their interest is in bringing more bodies here so they can make a profit of it.
Right? Yeah, like I agree that they don't care. I wouldn't say that their message is anti everybody else. Like it's clearly anti-white male. That's the gist of the majority of what they're against, because you just look at voting patterns. White men vote conservative. White men want to pay less taxes. White men want less government. So it's clear why they don't want it. But the outcome will be negative for everybody, and they don't care about black or brown or Asian or the poor. All they care about is using people to get more power, at the end of the day.
So keep in mind, right? Let's not make light of the legitimate problems that happened through history. I'm not going back a long time. I'm going back 50, 60 years to people of color in the United States, particularly black people. So now these people who are now taking what legitimately happened and are weaponizing it to divide people even further into their own little fiefdoms, their own little ghettos. And I don't mean ghetto in terms of black, I mean ghetto in terms of a single racialized group that is isolated from all others. That's the real definition of ghetto. Because you used to have Jewish ghettos in Germany, where they would, or in other places, or Italian ghettos. It's a neighborhood where everybody is one. A Chinatown in your neighborhood is a ghetto because it's all one racial group together, and they don't talk to other people. So everybody's in their own little bubble, and they're not talking to each other. And and I just saw a comment. What does this mean about for Canada? Do you don't think this is happening in Canada? My gosh, you go to, I'm thinking just of Toronto, where you have these more multicultural neighborhoods. And my gosh, I go to say Thorncliffe Park, and I mean right across the street, Flemington Park, and it's like two different worlds. Thorncliffe Park is, geez, it's like little Islamabad. it's like, you know, they're supposed to hold 6,000 people. It's got 18,000 people who live in that neighborhood, packed into apartments. And I mean, the kids in the public school get time off for Friday prayers because it's just such a Muslim-dominated neighborhood. When they're doing the sex sked, I mean, the school was empty because they didn't want. I mean, you don't see it in the media publicized like you do with churches, but I mean, it's happening here too. It's no different in terms of the separation, but it's actually worse in a way because, yes, racial injustices have happened in Canada. I'm not saying that we're that different, but nowhere near to the degree as in the U.S.
People
Even in terms of
people are acting like we lynched people.
Yeah,
they're starting to act like it.
Yeah, and that's been the case. I was just talking.
We're committing genocide on the native right now.
Yeah, exactly. If we're going to talk about our racial injustices in Canada, that's where we have to start. And the U.S. is very guilty of this as well. But I think we still have some folks here. But
we also train these immigrants that come here, and you know, my father's mentioned this numerous times. The guy just, you know, turns around, well, I have rights. Well, you fucking earn them. Like my father's always said, you earn those rights, right? You don't just come here and demand them. Who the fuck are you to come in and demand it to someone else who's been here like generations and fucking earned it from bottom up?
Yeah,
go, you know, go.
But this is the situation. Is that we're creating, and to your point, Fred, that grab for rights is the grab of a victim, somebody who feels I need this, I need to grab, and we're creating that from jump with a new generation of immigrants who are coming here, the immigrants who came here like your father and my parents, and you know whatever else. They came here expecting to contribute and to work their butts off to make something. I remember when my dad came. I don't remember when he came here because I wasn't born. But when my dad came here, he and my mother had gotten married about a year before that, in my point of origin, and I'll let folks keep guessing as to where that is. They came here for 6 months, for a year, drove a taxi to save up and kind of prepare a place to bring his wife to later on. They came over legally. Coming illegally was not an option, even in consideration. And granted, they did come from a place in the British Empire, the former British Empire, so it was a little bit easier to immigrate from country to country at the time. And just got to work, you know. And Fred, I know that your father, you know, and mother certainly came here and worked very hard to, you know, and had to deal with some nonsense from people. From a racial perspective, and I mean, you look a lot more like the bulk of the population than I do. So, but that's unfortunately it's unfortunately some of what happens when you come to a new place and people don't understand you. Sometimes it's that simple. It's not something you like. It's not something to be excused. But that was also a bit of a different time. Now, I grew up in an extremely multicultural neighborhood. Pretty mixed, not one group really dominant. I mean, more white people than anything else, but really outside of that, very mixed. And we all kind of came and we didn't really, I mean, I don't want to say we didn't see color, but we got along. And now I just see people not mixing as much as they did back then.
Because we've taught them that. We've taught people to do that.
Exactly. We've gone backwards. We've effectively gone backwards in that regard. We've completely gone backwards. Sorry, go ahead, Fred.
I don't know what boss man. I'm going to time that guy out.
Don't worry about boss man. Keep going.
No. So
what do we teach?
We teach the people that come here as of late that they are, you know, they don't have to contribute in the mosaic of Canada. Like they don't have to be Canadian, right? Oh, I don't have to speak English. When I was in Mont Tremblant the other day, I was in line to get tickets.
No,
we don't. Look at I was joking. There was a guy there. It was a Chinese person working there. They can barely string two words together to tell me I need a life jacket. And I said, and he's like, I'll just take it myself. And I said to my son, no one speaks English anymore in this country anyway. And the Canadian guy is you know, as Anglo-Saxon can be, just turned around and laughed. He goes, I know, right? Like no, like there's no test on what do you know about the country, what do you know about its history, what do you know about its people, what do you know about the mannerisms, what do you know about the language. Nothing. It's just come here free for all, and everybody does whatever they want because they're allowed to. So what have we done but not teach them that? Why do we allow that? Because we've allowed these politicians to do this over several generations.
Yep.
Right? Like no one came out in the early and said, "Hey guys, I don't think this is right," because this shit didn't start overnight. Like it's been ongoing.
I think we can take a look at some comments in the chat here just to make sure they're part of the conversation. I'm looking here. I'm seeing Julie Mora back in the 90s, the Chinese, Vietnamese, etc. Used to take an English name. No more of that. I still see a lot of the Chinese that I see, or maybe Fred, you know the distinction more than me between the Chinese and the Hong Kongese. Do you see it be more like the Hong Kongese or the Taiwanese who take an English name, but the Chinese folks will kind of retain their original name?
Well, first off, most people, like 99% of the people in this country that are English speaking and born here, will not be able to pronounce their Chinese names. So they always take an Anglican. Right. So they will take an Anglican name, which is okay because they want the kids to fit in. Yep. My parents did the same thing. They gave me an Anglican name, but overall, they don't really. But it's really the Indians. Like they're. I find it impossible because the language is centered around a lot of consonants. Try to talk something like that, you know. Srinivas Thramparam. So they just like short form it for everything.
Yeah, just call me boss.
Yeah,
everybody's boss.
Like Srini, right? Like instead of Srinivas Thrantaparam, like it's all these ridiculous consonants together. There's no way an English person can speak it. So they just shorten it and they say Srini. Just call me Srini, or Srinivas or something.
Let me see here. What else? Yeah, Koreans still take English names. That's right. Son of Rambo. What else do we have here? Sidewalk is kind of giving his manifesto, so to speak, saying that everybody should be able to speak English fluently when they come here or whatnot. And yeah, I think definitely we have 2 official languages.
So let me ask you guys: Did we? I don't know this, but did we ever give English tests? I mean, the Dutch used to give a
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is a basic English test that is supposed to be a part, but obviously it's not done very rigorously because here we are having this conversation. But also, if you recall, when we looked up some of the citizenship tests, they were in multiple languages beyond this French and English. So I'm not sure if you can actually do the test in another language. That would be disappointing. But
I know the Chinese pay for upfront for like previous tests, and then
they're all cheaters. All the Chinese are cheaters, man. That's why I don't even trust a lot of their test score. Like a lot when they uncovered a lot of the stuff when all that cheating scam, a lot of it was Asians and Jews, and then they only focus on the 2 white ladies for some reason. But whatever. But yeah, they're notorious for fucking, lying on their fucking shit. Just to tell you, and like especially when it's these tests they send overseas and stuff like that, or they can send it over. It's ridiculous what people can get away with.
Yeah. Just looking at the citizenship website, it says that they do not use a citizenship test to assess your language skills in English or French. So. Interesting.
Yeah, we're just being sold out to the highest buyer in Canada, and I have an article from Trudeau where the steel companies in Canada are mad at him because he's sending I don't know how many billions of dollars essentially to Chinese steel manufacturers. Even after all this shit that is going on between us, and you're like, wow, really? You're still gonna do this?
Yeah, basically letting them their steel in our country. Yeah. It's crazy.
Right. But here, let's see here. I got a couple more stories. Let's try to considering we're talking about immigration, I had this story I found a little while ago, and I just thought it was really interesting, and how, let's see here, the unusual suspects, how BC's middle class gangs are unlike any other in North America. So many gangsters driven by desire to belong, to be protected, I mean, gang lifestyle, say police experts. At the end of the trunk, cul-de-sac, blah, 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 the home metro, yada, yada, yada. So, like, apparently the average, it's people that are middle to upper middle class that are in these gangs. And, it's people like this guy. This is Asian, right? But, this is Asian, right? We're gonna start hearing a lot of what you hear in Europe when they start describing people as Asian, but they're really just gonna be Muslims. Whereas they're still technically Asian. I'm not saying that they're not, but whenever somebody says Asian to you, you think of a Chinese person or something, right? I think that's what most people think of. But so gangs in Chicago and other U.S. cities, they're usually geographically based. They keep a watch of the block. They're a bunch of new immigrants to a country. It's become a unity thing, like survival. These kids don't have that issue. Some may be new immigrants to Canada, but their parents sold property back home, and they live in 1 million plus homes, and their parents buy them whatever car they want. So these people are new immigrants to Canada, well off, and they're committing crimes. Killing people. Like, what the fuck? I saw something on Reddit today, and some guys like, gangs are always started by poverty and this and this and that, you idiots. I sent him this article. Well, except for this. Except for this one. What are these people? They just want to commit crimes.
Well, they're probably weekend warriors. Like, they're probably like, a nuclear physicist and mathematician Monday to Friday, and then they're like, they get in their Honda Civic, their souped up Honda Civic or Subaru, and go right and dirty all weekend, come back to work. My gosh.
I remember growing up now too. I remember a couple drug dealers growing up, and going by their houses, and they're just living in these big houses. One Asian guy, Jeff Lau, he got shot and killed. And then there was like some other Muslim guy. I think he's killed and shot and dead now too, I'm pretty sure. But they were both like fairly well off and were rich. I'm just like, new immigrants essentially to Canada. I'm like, really? That's how you're going to start off things? But you got these young gang members. This guy, Ari Azez, friends involved gang lifestyle in Surrey. The 22-year-old now works for an anti-gang group called Yo Bro or Yo Girl Youth Initiative, and he casually mentions that his friends who are still alive are still involved in drug dealing. He's lost 7 friends in shootings or to overdoses. So, after a while, it's like, oh, too bad, Aziz says with a shrug and a slight laugh. It doesn't hurt as much anymore. In the beginning, it was really tough, blah, blah, blah. If you go to school, you're basically part of a gang, he says. You could be one of those kids who stays indoors and plays chess with nerds, or you could be with the cool kids outside smoking, hanging out on the block. On the one hand, you did have a choice, but on the other hand, it's clear that no one really wants to be on the inside. So, yeah, he did have a choice. It's not like he's being pushed into this life. These kids are choosing this lifestyle. And, what is their solution going to be? Well, we need to hire more Muslims into the police force or something like that. And we need to do more diversity training or something like that, right? Like, that's what they're going to do to solve this type of shit. But, that's just crazy to me that people that, have opportunities, they're living in $1 million homes, are going and committing crimes, killing people, putting their lives in jeopardy. It's like these people are fucking idiots, and we're bringing it. And what are we doing?
But you know what it is though. It's not even okay. First off, I think Bossman had a good comment here. Thug rife. It's like, anyways, they're emulating. I don't know what it is. What these guys are trying to do, but I see it in now we're seeing it in these rich boy communities where it's like, what are they searching for? But you also see it in poor communities that, they're trying to search for something, and it's like looking for the sense of belonging. Is this because people don't have friends anymore? They're not like, hanging out, just doing normal things. So now we got to commit crimes or pretend like we are getting together and doing that like a thug. Like, I don't even know if this is an immigration. It's just as like a sick, ill society thing.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I agree to some respect, right?
Sure.
Whereas, but why isn't it happening in all these other well-to-do communities all over Canada with upper middle class people, right? Why is it just there? So, and it's specifically Asians, shit, and new immigrants and immigrants. So it definitely has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. Like, there's something culturally wrong with people right now, and how they choose to do a lot of this stuff, and how I think the media has a lot to play with this too, to do with this, like what it kind of promotes is cool, and this and that, and largely being a gangster and doing all this stuff is still looked at as kind of cool, I guess, to a lot of kids and people growing up in a young age and shit. So they're going to go and emulate that stuff.
Right.
The music they listen to, all this other shit. And, I remember growing up and, I could have went down that path or known a lot of people and started, dealing drugs and all that shit. Like I sold weed, you know what I mean? But like, that's nothing too crazy. But I could have went down or sold way more and all this other shit. But I was just like, nah, I don't want to. I don't want to, I after doing some of those types of drugs and being in certain situations and looking around in the place you're in, you're like, man, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be here in 5 years looking around. Dump with one couch and some weird skinny person in the corner, and you're like, no, this is not the life for me or whatever, right? Or just the, okay, let's jack this person, man. Oh, let's jack them. No, why? Because we can get like all their fucking weed and all their shit. No, we did that. One time to that Jeff Lau guy that got shot, and then we were being chased for like all over fucking Winnipeg and shit. It was like, I was trying to talk people out of it, like, nah, I'm like, this is a bad idea, and it was just a stupid, like he got in a fight with one of my other friends, and my friend's like, oh, he jumped me and jacked me, so now we have to jack them or something. I'm like, this is not gonna go good. I'm like, nothing bad happened to me, but either way, like, but it's easy. It is easy to fall into that. And it is easy to be like, oh, that's kind of cool, and oh, that's kind of hard. But where are the parents as well too? Where
the parents
in their kids' lives.
Yeah, well, the parents. I mean, the parents might not be parents. It might be parent, as in singular one, and that single parent, if that is the case, might have more than one kid. They might be. I think Fred is in the waiting room. You can let him back into StreamYard. He's having some trouble. But anyways, but you might have some people who the parent isn't there because even if you have two, they're working. They're working hard and trying to make ends meet, and either they're exhausted when they come home, or they're working all the time, and the kids have time to themselves that maybe they didn't have in the past. The concept of a latchkey kid is completely different these days because of the internet. So being a latchkey kid, maybe you talk to your friends on the phone, but not really. But on the internet, you could be having multiple conversations and planning all kinds of crap online, or even doing things online that you just didn't have access to when we were kids. Fred, I think you're back. Just say something so we can make sure we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know why StreamYards keeps giving me all these error messages. It just keeps telling my mic is
okay.
Well, speaking of online and being online and stuff, there was this guy in Winnipeg who's gone missing now.
Yes.
Former Army reservist linked to neo-Nazi group. See, this guy's in my fucking group. And no, I'm joking. Like, I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. But his boss seems like a really cool dude, honestly. And he apparently heard about all this, and the guy kept he's like, no, you're safe here. And I think he does roofing too. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. But he's missing now, and I'm thinking, maybe he killed himself or something. I don't know. It's possible, considering all the media and CBC has probably been covering him for quite a while now, and I think the media, I read on Reddit or somebody underneath, I don't know if it's true or not, they were like, oh, I knew him, and in the Army Reserves, and he was kind of on the spectrum and stuff, and also that he said he went in front of this house, and there's been media parked in front of there for days now. So I can't vouch for that. I can't say it's completely accurate or anything, but the man accused of recruiting for a global neo-Nazi terrorist group while serving in the Canada Army Reserves has gone missing, and his boss is pleading with him to contact his distraught family. So on Monday, Beausejour, I know people from there, RCMP in Manitoba got a missing persons report for Patrick Matthews, 26, who was last seen on Saturday evening by his father, who reported him missing on Monday evening. Matthews' alleged ties to a group known as The Base led to his release from the armed forces this week. So it's just alleged, right? And that got him released from the armed forces. They fired him. Efforts to contact and locate him by family and police have been unsuccessful since the report was received.
Right.
This is the RCMP. And people wonder why, when it's alleged, it's all this shit, it's nothing proven yet, but the media is all reporting it, all this other shit. And he's probably being treated like a pariah. And if we want to stop mass shootings and stuff like that, it's best not to treat people like pariah and stuff. It is best to actually believe in freedom of speech and be like, okay, is he a part of this group? What does he actually say? Maybe they shouldn't have come out with this alleged thing first. Maybe they should wait until they know for certain that he is a part of the group or something. I looked into the group, The Base, and I don't know, I couldn't really find too much about it. I think there's Vice did some articles about them and whatnot just recently as well. And they're trying to infiltrate their chat room groups and stuff, but I'm not even quite sure. I can't say whether they are a group that is, getting ready for a race war, kind of like what the media is saying, because they say that about a lot of different groups, right? So this is a missing person investigation. There's no warrant for arrest, and there are no charges pending against the individual. So, there's no warrant, no charges. Matthew's boss last saw him on Friday. He asked for permission to leave work early so he could turn in his military kit and resign from the force. I told him, we'll ride this out with you. We've got your back. But I can't see any scenario that will play out well unless you dissociate from that group, said his boss, who is not being named by CBC News. Well, at least they didn't name the fucking company, because he owns a construction company in rural Manitoba and is concerned about putting his livelihood at risk, which it would be, right? If they found out that he was employing this guy and he let him keep his job, what? We need to go and boycott that company. Make sure you call every place in that area and say that this company is a white supremacist construction company, blah, 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 because they would do that. His boss expected Matthews to phone him early Monday morning to get details on his roofing job, which Matthews does like clockwork every day, but the call never came. He tried to reach Matthews, but his phone went straight to voicemail, something his boss said is unusual. He would always answer, unless there was no cell service. His father, who asked not to be named, told CBC News he'd be in daily touch with his son, but hadn't received responses in text to calls. Matthew asked to be relieved, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this guy's gone missing. And, I find it pretty crazy that the military would just relieve him immediately. But, just on mere allegations. But I guess, I don't know, maybe they have some more damning information that they haven't quite released yet. But nonetheless, I think that's interesting. But well, hopefully the guy's okay, I guess. I don't know. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, good, that neo-Nazi deserves to die for having wrong thought and wrong ideas. He doesn't want to be a minority in his own country. Oh, that fucking scumbag. But if he is promoting violence, if he is trying to train people to go and commit crimes and kill people, then yeah, obviously I'm against that. And starting a race war and shit. That would not be good. And then, yeah, he should be relieved from the military if that is the case, right? But let's see here. Let's check out the chat moment. Okay, so hip hop makes who feel rich? I don't know, man. Who said that? On welfare. Go ahead.
It's fool's gold. Because think about, there's the old, I remember 50 Cent talking about the video for his song Wanksta. And he was trying to explain kind of the mentality there, where he's driving, if anybody's seen the video, he's driving through the streets of New York in this G-Wagon, this $200,000 plus SUV, girls, bikinis, usual nonsense. And he's saying when you're in the hood, people don't necessarily see your home, but they see you walking down the street. So you got to look good. You got to have fancy clothes and nice shoes and your hair and everything taken care of. But then also your car. So that's why you have a nice car. So that's where you have this mentality of people who should really be like saving their money to like leave the area. But they figure, okay, let me just buy all this stuff that people see me and think I'm doing better than I am.
Right.
A real poverty mindset. And that goes beyond the Black community or hip hop. That's just a poverty, foolish mindset, but it's the mindset of some folks in that regard. So that's where he's saying, hip hop makes me feel rich because the culture makes you feel rich because you can buy this thing that will bring you some short-term, joy, I guess, or make people think for a time you're
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. It's just it's the same. Yeah, my brother was like that. I've known other people like that. Yeah, it's not necessarily to do with race. It's people, and yeah, that's in those economic situation type shit. Like they, instead of saving the money and putting it towards better shit, they'll buy like a nice gold chain or really nice shoes and really nice shirt, like a $200 shirt, $300 pair of pants, like $100 hat. All this crap, it's status. They're trying to appear like they have a lot of status and riches and shit like that. But it's at the end of the day, it's not good. I remember my grandpa when I was a little kid, and I think my brother had like some gold ring that he got or something. He's like, "Oh, cool! Look at this." My grandpa's like, "Does that keep you warm at night? Does that feed you?" It wasn't like, he was just kind of like jokingly like, "Does that keep you warm at night? Does that feed you?" And it's like, no. And I just remember thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, that's so true. Is that these types of things are not going to benefit you, and at the end of the day, who cares what other people think of you? Especially people that are poor and in your situation anyways, and it's like, who gives a fuck what anybody thinks about you? You know what I mean? So you don't need to waste your money putting on a show for other people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Not gonna do anything. Not gonna help you. But what is this video I have that I'm gonna show? Where is this one? Okay, 1 second. Oh yeah, it was a Tyler. Okay, no, it was a Twitter video. So this is Boss Man's people, going and attacking. See, why is there not?
Is that first? What is that?
This is
what is that in the video?
A bunch of Orthodox Jews just attacked this one guy who was went golfing in the Poconos, and basically got
sounds like a gang. But go ahead.
And basically got robbed and bullied by 100 Orthodox Jewish kids who didn't understand that it didn't work there. They wanted to pay for the golf cart and then eventually just tried to steal it. You know, that this is like the Covington kids, right? Right?
Mm-hmm,
So, you know, these kids should be they're the worst people in the world.
I give you a hint. Yeah, my car's right here. And you guys can take it, all right?
Okay, so I can take the car, okay?
After I get my stuff out, you can take the car. Can't take it this second. Okay. I need to get my shit out.
Like,
first,
we'll
man.
buy it from you.
Goes off. Everybody goes off.
You guys need to chill out for a second. I need to get my stuff out.
Those rosy cheeks.
I'll give you the key when I get my shit out. Okay. You guys aren't stealing my stuff. Then I'll give you the key. Yes. Thank you. Boy. I will when I get my stuff out, man. You guys need to chill out for a second. Yeah, this is all my stuff. You guys are going crazy. Hold on.
And next I got a class.
This is all my stuff. Where you guys from? What are you guys doing here? Field trip?
Okay, thank you.
Everybody say hi.
Hi.
Here you go.
Rude little
Look at him just smiling. Yeah, okay. You can have my cart. Okay. Oh, well, kids being kids.
He was definitely afraid. He thought he was going to be killed.
Sure.
That was a nervous smile on his face.
He's like, yep, what's a smile and be happy? I don't want to be murked by, some Krav Maga. I don't want to feel some Krav Maga today.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, he's just a silly Gentile goy, so he doesn't deserve to have anything.
No,
frankly,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, let's look in the chat. Actually, there's a little chat going on here. So, Bossman, our subject matter expert, says that Hasidic Jews commit the most welfare fraud, embezzlement, etc. Absolutely, I think we covered this maybe a month or two ago at this point. But there's communities, in particular New Jersey, I think in particular, where it's like they have no income, but yet they're able to live a certain way or afford a certain thing. And I'm sure the same thing is happening here, but it's just not covered or would be classified hate speech, despite whatever numbers get presented. And in fact, they're taught how to take advantage of that piece of the system while they study, quote unquote. What else do we have here? All Jews hate goys. So yeah, goys being us from Saxon Rock. Well, I don't want to turn this into the anti-Jew show. We always go down this. We all know the deal. we don't need to get your channel taken down. Let's move on.
Don't read everything you see in the chat.
Yeah. That's for the best.
You don't have to read it.
Yeah. We're not going to read it. Okay, let's move on.
Right here, I got this one thing from Mexico. So Mexico, police clash with migrants outside immigration center. So I find this is funny because, look at all these racist Mexicans keeping out all these doctors and engineers, these peaceful, they're going to separate children most likely, but nobody's up in arms about this, how they're treating people at their border and shit. But I seen I heard somebody else, they were talking about this too, and they were saying all the comments of all the Mexicans, they're like, oh, well, you go back to your country and we don't want you here, and you can't come in here illegally, that's not right. But like, no, and you see, I'll show this video here. See, one guy, he's gonna box one of them at one point. Where did all these Africans come from? Like, I tell by the way they're dressing, they're not from South America. Not that there isn't black people in South America. Just like, I'm pretty sure these people are from Africa. I don't care. This is what you fuckers get. Hopefully more of this happens to you. You know, like, you know, it's like, fuck those countries. Fuck Mexico. Mexico's a shithole. They can go to hell. You know, this is what they do. They import all of their, the people that they don't want, the poor, the degenerate, the criminals, into America and shit. And then they come from America into Canada afterwards, because Trudeau is gonna be like, yeah, sure, we'll let you in. We'll take you in. But it's funny to see this happening in places like Mexico, and you're just like, you see them all complaining on Twitter about people trying to enter their country illegally, and it's like, well, but I thought open borders. I thought borders were racist and you know, that they're mean and stuff.
Yeah,
it's only for you in your country. That's it.
Yeah. You gotta, and one other thing, I know Fred, he keeps coming in and out of StreamYards apparently, so he's kind of given up for the evening. We'll try again with him another time. We'll try different things. So everybody in the chat, say bye to Fred. He's not coming back tonight. He's having some technical problems, but it's okay. Yeah, so I mean, it is interesting to hear that, and when you get rid of that third party, that third country agreement for the asylum seekers coming north, that should be interesting, because Mexico would then be the first safe country. So then they will be facing the full brunt of this. Not that that's going to stop people from trying to get into the U.S. or Canada. I think what we kind of need is like a fortress North America approach, where between Mexico, Canada, and the U.S., we just kind of treat it as our shared responsibility to make sure our immigration laws are enforced, whether that's land border crossings or people overstaying visas when they fly in, which is actually 80% of illegal immigration is people flying in and overstaying visas, who have legal visas and they just keep going. So anyways, but either way, I mean, it still needs to stop. And even with this southern immigration, you're seeing more and more. I think there's some videos that we showed in past weeks where the people immigrating or kind of coming across these passages were not people who were, you know, really Latino or from South America. Like, they're people from Pakistan, people from China, even from all kinds of countries, in Asia in particular, who are coming to South America, in some cases legally going to one of those countries and working for a bit, and then making their way north to, you know, illegally enter the United States, and eventually sometimes Canada too, if the US wises up to them. It's a major problem, but it's not like a problem that one country can solve. Like, it needs to be solved all the way down the line, so to speak.
Well, you know, like, I think that each individual country could, you know, like, we could solve it ourselves. I don't think we need the help of other countries to do it per se. Like, we could just stop birth tourism right there, you know, get rid of, you know, the thing, you know, like I said, birth tourism, where people have their babies here and then they become citizens. Get rid of that. You know, actually, you know, just enforce the laws, you know, keep people from coming across the border. First of all, you could do that. And what you do is you charge the people who hire, you know, illegal aliens and stuff like that. Well, that would be more like in America, because in Canada, we just bring them in and say, well, you're a part of the system now, or whatever. So we don't need to do that. We could say no. We could say you're not allowed to come, and as soon as we catch them, we, I don't know, return them or something. You know, we could stop this border crossing, these illegal aliens and stuff like that. It's not like an impossible feat.
No, it's not. It just takes will and political will. But the reason why I suggest multiple countries is for when I say multiple countries, I'm talking about, yes, you could go even further than this, but those other countries are going to want money to do their jobs. So I'm like, okay, let's focus on Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. And so Mexico beefs up their border crossing, their southern border crossing immigration for their southern border. And really makes it kind of inhospitable. If they're going to claim asylum, then fine. They have to claim asylum in Mexico. That's a different story. But the Mexicans grant it. So that blocks that kind of southern passage, so to speak, and kind of beefs up that border piece there. And then when you do come to a crossing, then people have to be held, and that person's identity would need to be sent to the place they're going. Because if somebody's going from Mexico, if Mexico is the first safe country, then you can't claim asylum going from Mexico to Canada. And of course, you should not be able to claim asylum going from the US to Canada. So then one of the first things is Canada, if somebody's coming from the US and claiming asylum, first they say, well, look, you can't do that anymore. So some agreements have to change that are multi-country agreements. And then they say, oh, hey, United States, AJ Illicits is trying to get in. This guy looks suspicious. Just joking. Can you look him up? Here's his fingerprints, because they do I'm not even sure if Canada's doing this. They should be. I know the US is doing biometric scans, DNA. Here, take this information, put it into your database. Tell me what you find. Oh, AJ is a massive creep. He's doing all kinds of dirty stuff in our country, and we want him back so we can prosecute him, or extradite him, or send him back. Okay. So then we have the agreement. Then the country they were coming from, they committed the crimes. They prosecute them if they're a criminal because they've committed a criminal offense in the country, or they extradite them to their country of origin. But it's not like these camps that are sitting here, these people in limbo. Like, let's get this stuff moving. And that's what the Fortress approach. So they just stay out completely, and this becomes a pretty inhospitable environment for people to cross. And that same thing would apply. For people who are flying. Again, the majority of these illegals are coming in via the air, and there's a lot of focus on that. But there has to be. But once they're in, that becomes a lot harder to stop and track because they're in. Like, they're just kind of able to go whatever, or able to do whatever. So the people coming in and out have to be tracked a little bit better.
You got to remember
how that happens. I don't know.
You got to remember too, also, that the liberals and left are going to boost up the numbers of the people being illegal through the other means. It's people who may overstay for like a day or like a couple of days, and then they'll be like, oh, illegal. And it's not like necessarily the same as like the people who are crossing and are like, I'm coming to live here for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like it's true that people do come in, and you're right, that way, and that needs to be tackled and stuff too. Right. And like I said, though, for America specifically, it would be really easy just to make it so companies are charged. You know, I think what happened a little while ago, Trump, they found a facility of 400 migrants, illegal aliens. And, you know, they were all charged. I think they all got let go anyways, but the owner of that, I don't think he got charged. Why not? He should be charged a fucking shitload of money or put in jail. And if you start putting people in jail who hire these people, then you're going to start to see, you know, like, then why would they come if nobody's going to give them any work, if they're not allowed to be on welfare, if they're not allowed to do all this shit that they get freebies for, you know, they get to pay in-state tuition in places that they illegally migrate to. And you're like, what? Like, because let's say you're living in like another state in America and you want to go to a different college, it's better, or university in another state, where you're going to have to pay out-of-state tuition, right? So illegal aliens, well, I just illegally cross, I don't have to pay this, you know, anymore, depending on the state, right? Obviously, you know, the more liberal ones. But, you know, like you were saying, though, too, it'd be good if we had the cooperation of America and Mexico. But that's like, that'd be great. But if Trump's not there, and even if he is there, but especially if he's not there, then Are we going to expect the Democrats to do anything about
Yeah.
their border and their border crossing?
Yeah,
No. The only way that would be feasible if we were working together would be to cut off all resources and money that goes to Mexico, right? Because they have no incentive right now to stop what they're doing. They're getting tons of money, they're getting tons of trade, they're getting tons of goodies from America, Canada, etc. Special treatment that if you took that away, then they'd be like, oh fuck, okay, now we kind of have to work with these people if we want to still trade with them and all this other shit. But there's just so many people within Canada and America that are just willing to sell us out at the turn of a fucking hat, that it's difficult to do that. So it's almost might even be easier for country to country to do it, on a country to country basis, just for the fact that you have less people or entities to deal with to get all your, chickens in line or whatever at once. You just got Canada, to deal with. But I know what you're saying. Like, it would be great if they could stop the flow at Mexico. So then by the time they came, there'd be like nobody or whatever,
Yeah, there'd be nobody. There'd be nobody. Like, anybody who showed up at Roxham Road would be under massive scrutiny.
Well, they're not even coming through Mexico. Those people for Roxham Road are coming from plane a lot of the time, right?
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, why are you coming from the United States?
Oh yeah, the visa.
Why are you claiming asylum? Why are you not using a regular border crossing? I mean, because realistically, they could apply for a Canadian not a worker's visa, but a visitor's visa.
Oh, we know
wanted. Oh, and I know we know why, but there's going to be so few reasons that they would do that illegally, that it should, in time, if it's enforced consistently, it should stem the tide dramatically. To your point earlier about they go over a day or something. Yeah, you should definitely have some grace period, because otherwise you're going to be over prosecuting and resources will be focused on people who may be making honest mistakes, because that will happen. But there has to be more consequences. There has to be something better than what we have right now. The law has to be enforced.
Well, what I meant by that wasn't necessarily that there should be a grace period. Was that how they diminish the border crossings and say, well, the majority of illegals are actually coming across on a plane, and blah 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 blah. It's a way to diminish the border crossing,
right?
To say, like, it's not a big issue. Why are you complaining about it? Whereas, when they're calculating all the numbers and saying, like, 80% of the illegals are coming in, and that number has spiked. I remember hearing it was 60 at one point. Now it's 80.
Yeah.
I heard 60, but nonetheless, are they counting the people who only overstayed their visa by like a day, a month, a week, and then we're kind of left or went back or whatever? You know what I mean? Because that kind of, it's a little different. A little different than the illegals that are coming in, like the Mexicans, like that, and who have no paper trail,
right,
whatsoever. The people that are coming in on a plane, they have a paper trail. They had to get a visa, they had to do all this crap. So there's some idea of that person being in your country, right? Whereas illegal immigration, like through the border, we don't know who's coming across. Could be criminals, killers, rapists, drug dealers.
Sure. And if you have that fortress North America concept, then if somebody shows up without paperwork, it's like, okay, how did you enter Mexico, Canada, or the United States to begin with? Like, how did you get here to begin with? Now, we do have these agreements with the UN, and that's what Ray ran into with Jihadi Jack, we talked about the last time, where we can't, under this agreement we have with the UN, render someone stateless. So if somebody shows up without paperwork, we can't just send. If they have paperwork for one country or another, but at the end of the day, we can't leave them with nothing. So there's rules about that stuff as well. But rules are meant to be broken.
It's like, is the UN? What are they going to do? Are they going to invade us or something?
Yeah, they're invade us with their army. Yeah.
That's the thing, a lot of these rules, they say, they're like, these is our rules, but then at another time they say, well, they're non-binding.
Yeah,
Well,
they'll pass
they're
a resolution.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll try to, sway us or be like, oh, don't worry, guys, it's non-binding agreement, this and that. And then later on in a judgment, they'll be, well, it's
Sure.
against the rules not
Yeah.
to take these people in.
Yep.
And you're like, what do you mean it's against the rules? I thought it was a
Yeah.
non-binding. Well,
Yeah.
it's the judges will use that
Yeah.
and they will use that when they
Absolutely.
make decisions
Absolutely.
on cases in the future.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yeah. Yep. And that's why these things, what's in writing is so important. Language is so important. Just today, I was meeting with a client for at work, of course, and I was taking them through this revised contract for our services to them, and that we had been renegotiating. I'd finished the new text and was taking them through it. And there's some things that we had discussed, but they weren't in the old contract, and I put them in. That wouldn't cost them any more. But I said, hey, I didn't say I'm going to quit or anything, but I said, jobs change, people leave, people come and go, they get reassigned, they get promoted, things happen. So it's important that the contract reflects in writing even these things that are a maybe, with language surrounding that, so that in the event that you change and I change, and or even if one of us leaves and somebody else comes to replace us, the first thing they're going to do is look at what's in writing and say, okay, well, this is what we agreed to, so this is what we're going to do. And then for me or you to say, oh no, well, I talked to the previous guy and we said we were going to do this. You go back to that agreement. Hey, this is what we said we were going to do. So why sign a contract or a resolution or a non-binding agreement if it's not something you commit to? I mean, yeah, virtue signaling, but somebody might eventually look at the contract and say, hold on, Canada, you said you weren't going to render people stateless. You said you weren't going to do this, that, or the other thing. And here you are. So we're gonna hold you to this. So all these things we're signing up on, there people are saying no big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal until we say no, and then it becomes a big deal, unfortunately.
Right. This is a pretty cool feature on StreamYards. I can see that.
I have it on my eCam as well, and it you can highlight the comments. Yeah, go ahead. Maybe we can highlight some of them and bring the chat into the conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see what else here we got in store. I got the Ford with the 70%. He wants to make it so teachers now are required to score, I think, 70% on their what do you call it?
Basically, he wants the teachers to do the same math test that they have the students doing.
Oh, right.
Because I think in grade 9, so in Ontario, I don't know about other provinces, and chat, feel free to tell me if you have standardized testing in your province. I don't have one for pronunciation, but anyways. So in Ontario, we have standardized tests for math and reading and some other things at various points. I think grade 3 is the first one, grade 6, then grade 9 is I'm not sure if that's the last one or second last one, and then of course to graduate you need to do one more, so I guess grade 12. And in last year, 48% of grade 9 students passed the test. I'm not sure if you have the article handy.
I remember reading that as well. I think the year before that or a few years before that, it was like 55.
Yeah, just a truly terrible number. Like as far as I'm concerned, just really terrible number, because this isn't necessarily a test to get the kids into Harvard. This is to see if they know what's in the curriculum, what they've been taught for years, and can execute what they've been learned. What they've been taught.
Are complaining about this now in the unions, and they're like, "Oh, this is bullshit. Yeah. Why do we have to?" Here I do have the information, but they're like, "Why do we have to learn this? This is, if I'm a geography teacher, yada yada yada."
Right.
You're like, "Oh, I think people should be able to know basic fucking math."
Right.
And it's not that much of a fucking challenge for you to know this shit, the same math that your students is learning, and considering how bad the scores are. It couldn't hurt. Okay, no. It couldn't fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And I think they did change the fact that they're doing discovery math or something now. So Here's the article, or this is the one from, I think, Post Millennial, but here's the some of the information there. So according to the CBC Education Quality and Accountability Office, scores have shown that 49% of grade 6 students met with provincial math standard last year, down from 54% in 2013-14 among grade 3 students. And EQAO says 61% met the provincial standard in 2017-18. Down from 67% and since 2013-14. So, it's steadily going down. And, these teachers, they don't give a shit about teaching the students and all this shit. They care more about their paycheck, getting their 2 months off vacation, and that's about it. And pushing these kids through, not really educating them, just teaching a bunch of gay shit. Whatever, propagandizing them to be little socialists and stuff. That's about it. They don't care about actually teaching the kids and making them proficient at anything. It's no wonder people are completely useless once they leave school, grade 12. You're completely. What was the point of that whole 12-year education if a lot of kids leaving it probably have an 8th grade, 7th grade comprehension of math, right? And I'm no math expert. I forgot a bunch of it and stuff as well, right? But if you're a teacher and you're going to be teaching your kids math, at the very least know it. I remember a couple teachers that I had growing up too, and they were fucking idiots. I'm like, what are you doing teaching all these students right now? I'm like, this is, you should be fired or something. But these unions ensure that they keep their job, that they get protected when they sexually abuse students. They'll just move them around to another school a lot of the times, and not tell anybody, not say anything. They're just like the Catholic Church, except we don't talk about it as much, right? That's the only thing. And but let's see what else in the article. Was I still sharing it? Let's go ahead.
Yeah, you're still sharing it. Yeah, you're still sharing it. Yeah, I'm looking at a different version of it. On a different website, but one of the quotes, and I think I see it there, from Ford, is that the teachers union, they have to get together they have to get with the times here. Our grade 6 students are the lowest math scores in the entire country. That's a direct quote from Ford. Our system is broken. We need to fix it. And then he was asked if he thought that this might result in a strike. He said they went under strike under Mike Harris. They went under strike under Dalton McGuinty. They went under strike under Kathleen Wynne. They go under strike under every single government that's in there. So it's like, what? Yeah. They're going to go on strike anyways. So
they're never happy.
Right? And to his point, look, the teachers union is their objective. This is where their true colors show, right? Is your objective? Obviously, it's to protect your members and their jobs and whatnot. Of course, you're a union, but that's all for naught if they're not doing their jobs properly. If they're not equipped or don't have the knowledge of their jobs, then it's not serving the students. It's not serving the province. It's not serving the taxpayer. And then what the hell are you doing there? Why do we have you in the job?
They can retake the test as many times as they need.
Yes, exactly. I mean, to me, it's informational, because if they're interested in doing the job properly, and there's really no penalty for them to fail per se, then do the test. Do the test. Be interested. But I think they realize, crap, I actually don't know some of this stuff. And frankly, to your point, if there's a geography teacher and they do the test and flunk it, well, they're a geography teacher, so I'm not as concerned. I'm more concerned with the math teachers. And is this just high school teachers? Grade 6. I'm looking at this one for grade 6 students. So yeah,
it's the thing. Teachers at that level teach everything, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Teachers at grade 6 to 8, they teach everything usually. And then once you get in high school, then they start having a math teacher and physics and geography and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, it's so sad, because what if there's a really great geography and this teacher, but they just can't pass the math? And it's like, okay, so look at the math. It's at least 70% of the new math proficiency test will assess teacher candidates on content, including fractions, percentages, and other basic arithmetic. So that's it. fractions, percentages, and other basic stuff. The rest of the assessment will test them on how to teach the subject in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So Deputy Minister of Education Nancy Naylor revealed the details of the test to the deans of education last week, blah, blah, blah. This means that despite concerns, it does not appear that teachers will be required to take upper level secondary math tests that one would find in courses such as advanced functions or calculus. Rather, it's likely teachers will have to be able to answer math questions somewhere in the grade 9 or 10 level, which they would have had to have been able to pass to become teachers in the first place, regardless of their area of expertise, right? So
yeah, but refresh the information like anything else. Like, let's make sure you haven't forgotten what you had to do to get the job in the first place. I mean, this is a consistently evolving position, and these guys should be put to the test regularly, not necessarily to penalize them. I'm not suggesting that, at least not yet, but to say, hey, here's an area for improvement. It's like if you're in class and you get a quiz in class, and it's not a test, it's a quiz, so you can make sure that you're on track with what you've been learning, so that when the test comes, where it really counts, you know what areas you need to improve on, so you don't fail the test. So teachers need to consider these as quizzes. That I have some things to do here, some things to improve. When we watch the results of these tests versus test scores for the students over a period of time, and then we take a look and see if there's something that needs to be adjusted further. But they should have no problem being measured if they're interested in doing good work, which they're not, unfortunately.
It's like, hey, I don't have a university degree. I'm not smart or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But the teachers are the lowest of the low when it comes to achievement in schoolings and universities and stuff. And it's like, should we be taking the dregs of this of universities and school and colleges and getting them to teach our children, our kids? Is that really a smart thing to do? It's like, don't you think we should be getting the best people to teach your children, to teach your kids? Not like, obviously, if they could be doing something better, like inventing a cure for cancer, sure, don't. But you know what I mean? Like, they should have higher qualifications. They, at the very least, they have subpar standards that they have to meet. And this is what's happening throughout all of society, it seems like. This is what's going to lead to our eventual destruction, the fall of Roe. This is what's going to happen to us, because we're just, when it comes to policing, we're like, okay, we're going to lower the bar. When it comes to schooling, we're just going to lower the bar. We're lowering the bar on every single thing in society, where at one point it will be like idiocracy. We will just be fucking stupid. We won't be able to function because we'll just be completely dumbed down. You don't need to know math and shit and to be a physicist anymore. You just, this and that. Just wear some glasses and get your hair in a do. And you're good, man.
Yeah. I actually only watched Idiocracy for the first time, I think it was last weekend. And I watched it and I'm like, wow, this is a documentary. This is like a time machine to the future. It is scary. It is absolutely scary. And folks in the chat, have any of you, I hope some of you have seen this movie, Idiocracy. If you haven't, seek it out and watch it. It was wow. It is I was speechless watching this whole thing.
And they're raping kids.
Go ahead.
These teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every day, there's some news story, some woman like fucking having sex with some young male student or something. We don't talk about that. Fred's gone. He unfortunately passed away today. No. He left. Jeez.
Good night, everybody.
He died. I don't know. It's computer shit. His brand new computer that he bought with all that money.
Something happened to his StreamYard is telling him something about his mic having some kind of problems. I I don't know. Anyways, Van R says he watched the movie Idiocracy when it first came out, and he thought, "Wow, the far-fetched that'll never happen." And you know what? This movie came out in 2005 or 2006, I think, in the theaters, and it was, yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, even as soon as 10, 15 years ago, I would have thought it was ridiculous too if I saw it when it first came out. But nowadays, just to your point, AJ, with kind of the dumbing down of society, starting with the schools and just the elimination of streamings, like the smart kids have to kind of be buddied up with the ones who aren't so smart and or need a little bit more help or whatever else. Like the kids who are further ahead can't get even further ahead. Everybody has to kind of go together.
Right.
I can see how that would really be an issue. Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Not only that, the policies we have in place when it comes to redistribution of wealth and stuff, like intelligence is genetic. It's fairly, it has something to do with the environment, but it's mostly if your parents were smart and your mom and dad were smart, there's a good chance you're probably going to be smart too, right? There's the regression to the mean and stuff, whatnot, but nonetheless, intelligence is typically hereditary, right? Would you agree? Like, I think there's not, like, if like some kids, if your kid is stupid, it doesn't matter who raises them, they're always going to be stupid. What I mean? Like some people just can't do certain things. I'm not saying that anything's bad about it or whatever, but it's just, so what we're doing in society right now is we're giving money to people who on average can't take care of themselves, right? And if intelligence is hereditary and genetic to some extent, to a large extent, especially that they've found through like twin studies and stuff, they separated twins that are genetic twins that are related to each other, that that have been separated for years and years and stuff, and they found that they're roughly the same when it comes to intelligence, regardless of if this guy had a good childhood and this guy had a bad one. It plays some role. Obviously, if you're malnourished and you're beat and you're this, that's going to have an effect on your average intelligence, of course. Iron and whatever like that does have a clear effect, obviously. But if that's not being thrown in there too much, like, it's largely going to be what it's going to be. Your intelligence by the age of like 20, it's already like it's pretty much as intelligent as you are going to be. It's like 80% hereditary by that point or something. But nonetheless, so if we're thinking about that and we understand that giving money to people who are going to breed and have a ton of kids that are going to be very similar to them genetically is a recipe for disaster in the future. And I'm not saying this like I'm so smart and this, because I'm not. I'm one of those stupid people. Sure, whatever. I don't care. Don't give me money so I have a bunch of stupid kids to populate the world. Whatever. But I think that is something that is going on, and that will have a severely negative effect on us in the future. People that are smarter have less kids, on average. That's the way it happens. So
actually, if you can let me share my screen, I'm going to play something that we can talk over at the same time. But
Oh yeah, sure.
And especially when it comes to talking about people having kids, I was going to leave the audio off just to make sure that nothing happens to our video here. But I think the visuals in the introduction for Idiocracy will speak for themselves. So, yeah, but definitely and that's the thing, is that the people who are the least educated, I mean, even if you have those super smart people, they're going to be outbred by the people who are less educated. It's kind of crazy that way.
I even will not use the word less educated per se, right? Because that's kind of like you could be smarter than somebody and still less educated than them. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
but I mean like just like base intelligence. You know what I mean? Like people who are not educated but who are smart. Well, there's hope for them. We can work with that. But somebody who's stupid, who's just dumb by nature, well, there's not much you can really do. The military at a certain IQ level, like I think 85 or something, they or 90, like they just can't do anything with you. They say sorry, we can't accept you. Whereas maybe in the future soon they'll start accepting them, but for a long time they're like, no, sorry, like we can't get you to do anything. Like you're not going to be able to carry out any task for us, right? So it's that's going to be a problem. And it's education as well, but you can't educate genetics to an extent,
right?
It's if they're like that's what I mean. Like if like my brother, one of my oldest brothers, he's just like a fucking idiot or something. We're all the same, we're all raised the same, but there's something wrong with that guy. I don't know what, but there's something wrong with him mentally or something, right? So it's something to do mentally or physically, genetic. I have no idea, but and obviously anecdotal experience is not evidence. I'm not trying to say that, but you can't make somebody who that would take generations of breeding. You know what I mean? To kind of, or a chance. It's like, so obviously sometimes two stupid people can have like a really smart kid or something. Like that happens as well too, right? But on average, you can expect to get somebody who's of similar quality if that person has children, right? That's just the way it is. And it sounds like eugenics and stuff or whatever. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I think it's just the truth. I think it's the truth. I'm not saying we should start, going and sterilizing people. I'm saying stop stealing my money or money of other people or something and giving it to other people. That's it. That's all I'm saying. It's essentially stop stealing. Stop stealing. I'm the good guy here. I'm the good guy who's saying, I'm not going to steal from you. Please don't steal from me. But they're like, no. I'm going to steal from you and I'm going to give it to these people. And you're the bad guy if you say anything about it. And you're the bad guy. It's like, no, fuck. It's like, it's the other way around. I care about poor people. I care about stupid people. I don't want the world to be populated with stupid people, because then nobody's going to be able to take care of the stupid people. Then they're all going to suffer and all going to be in a horrible situation, and that's not going to be good for anybody, right?
Yeah, but as we all just on the Idiocracy intro, they're breeding us out. they're outbreeding us, man. We can't complete with Cleavon. We got
right. Yeah. I love that. I love the movie where you see the scene where it's like Ruckers, Buckers,
right?
But like fuckers, butt fuckers.
yeah. Just slowly degrading into like worse and worse. Or the Oscar-winning movie Ass.
Yeah, Ass.
Everybody staring at a guy.
Hitting his nuts continuously or something. Just,
Yeah.
And they're like feeding their cock Gatorade and stuff, and they're like, why not growing? It has electrolytes in it. Like what? And he's just like an average guy, right? He has like 100 IQ. He's just average Joe. He's like, well, why don't you use water?
You mean like water, like in the toilet?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Oh, you drink water, you fucking idiot.
Oh, that's great.
He's speaking all smart and stuff. He's just speaking like a regular person, not even. I know that's a great movie. I don't know. I remember it got like a lot of. I think people didn't like it. They didn't like it got bad reviews or something. I'm pretty sure, but I liked it when it first came out years ago. I saw it years ago, and I was like, "This is where we're heading." I'm like, "This is the truth." I'm like, "This movie is prophetic, right?" But I always think back to that movie. I always get reminded of that. Same with like George Orwell, like 1984 and stuff like that. Those movies I always think back to, and I was like, I always get reminded of them continuously, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just checking to see how it was reviewed because, of course, they have the old reviews there. If I go to 2006, it came out, and it was okay. So it's not too bad on Rotten Tomatoes. I know it's controversial, but you got 76% and 60% audience score. But I've heard the score has been going up in recent years as people kind of realize, oh wait, and Terry Crews is President Camacho.
Yeah.
All good stuff, man. All good stuff. All right. So what do you have here? What are you sharing here? What's this article?
This is a woman's rape shelter, and a bunch of angry trannies came and posted some graffiti, "Kill TERFs." So I don't know what TERFs mean. Like, there's always this new lingo that people on the left and shit create, like TERFs. Like, I don't know. Maybe that means like tranny, earring, reamer, fuck shit.
So
I don't know.
I will tell you what it means, because it's, if there's ever a term you don't understand, actually let me share this one and we can come back to your article, and I'll share with the chat.
Oh yeah,
the definition. Urban Dictionary will have the definition. Yeah. So here, a TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminists. That group of feminists that claims that trans women aren't really women, as biological determinism is only a fallacy when it's used against them, not when it's used against others. For example, isn't it mind-boggling that the Royal College of Psychiatrists, and actually for the folks who are talking about Blue Apple in the chat, I have something for you in a minute. Isn't it mind-boggling that the Royal College of Psychiatrists would invite a TERF like Julie Bindel to come and talk at a study date on transgenderism and transsexuality? That's like blah, 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 blah. Essentially, if women are saying that a trans woman isn't a woman, like something like in a shelter where they want to be separate from men because they've been abused by men, they don't want to be. They just need that time and space to kind of get things back together and piece their lives back together. And they don't want to be forced to have a man, somebody who's biologically a man, in that space, because to them, that's not a safe place to be. And so the trans community is lashing out at these people saying, no, I am a woman. I'm like, no, dude, you're not to us. Like, we kind of need that space, that separation. And that's what they're saying here. So now they're kind of turning against these folks. They call them trans exclusionary radical feminists. Radical. For women who want to be in a space with other women. Yeah. So whether that be a woman who says, look, I don't want a trans woman in the change room of my gym. I don't want to share a washroom with a trans woman. I don't want I'm an esthetician, and I don't want to wax the privates of a trans person. I'm a TSA agent, and I don't want to be a female search agent. I don't want to search a trans woman because I'm only supposed to search people of the same sex as me. That kind of thing, kind of forcing women into positions they really don't want to be into for positions of safety or comfort.
I'm going to start calling like left-wing women TERFs from now on. Like, when they complain about women, trannies being in sports and trannies and this and having to wax people balls, I'm not going to sympathize. Shut up, you fucking TERF. That's what I'm going to say from now on. Like, fucking TERF. You shut up, you fucking bigoted bitch. Like that. Like, I don't. That's what you get. That's what you get. You get these things floated and flung at you, these fucking insults or whatever. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't hurt you that much being called a fucking TERF, but I'm not going to vandalize your place like these these dudes. But I see the conservatives a lot of times trying to pander to, I don't know, leftist women and be like, they shouldn't have to wax balls, and they should. That's bullshit. And I'm like, no, they should have to do it, and they should have to like it. And I don't care until people value freedom of association. I think they have to do it. I think they have to do it. There's no like, okay, well, only Christians have to do this, and only Christians, but women, no, they don't have to wax balls, and they don't have to. No.
And definitely not Muslim women. Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, this is against the religion. I don't give a fuck. I don't give two fucking shits. Do it, and you better fucking like it, or I'm gonna report you to the ADL and to Canada Anti-Hate Crime Networks, and they're gonna report on you, and they're gonna ruin your life. Until you start to support this shit, I don't give a fuck. And it's a lot of these women, a lot of the times these that kind of like want the best of both worlds. It's like, no, lady, sorry, you're gonna have to fucking do this shit, and you fucking turf, right?
Yeah. The best of both worlds until it comes to their house or their place of business, and they realize, oh crap, this is very uncomfortable.
Unless when it comes to kids, like, yeah, if it comes to like underage girls and putting like trannies in, then no, obviously, right? Like, don't put trannies and underage changing. Like, those young girls had nothing to do with it a lot of the times, and even some of the girls that are in their early 20s and shit. But hey, there's going to be some collateral damage. I'm sorry. But for the young kids, no, obviously that's always going to be no. Like, they don't. No, but for the older women, no. If you fucking do it, until you truly support these things like freedom of association and whatnot, then you're gonna have to learn the importance of them, I guess, right? Through actions and through feeling man's balls in your hands. I'm sorry, that's what you're gonna have to do. But this is the story. Kill TERFs. Vancouver's women-only rape shelter vandalized with death threats. Rat nailed to door. A rat was nailed to the door. Like, these people are so fucked, man. These like fucking trannies, man. Imagine if like some white supremacist people did this. It would be crazy. It's national news when they're allegedly on some site. Maybe, but this is like kill TERFs being reported by the post millennial. I wonder if the mainstream media reported on this or whatnot. Probably not. TERF is a slur word. Oh, I guess they explain in the article. Trans exclusionary radical feminists, or feminists who believe that women who are born biological female face oppression and have a different lived experience than those born as men. So, but see, that's what I mean. Like, I don't feel so, because they're all like, well, I'm oppressed too, but just on a different level. And you're oppressed, but you're not oppressed because you're still a man and you chose to be a man and to be a woman, and you don't have the same oppression that I have. And then the trans guy, well, you don't know what it is to be a trans man or a trans female, and you blah blah. Blah. It's like,
you know what it is? It's the victim mentality. It's a pity party. That's like, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Everybody is like, it's a race. It's a race to see who is who's got the saddest story, and it's a race to the bottom, because everybody's going, whoa, you don't know my pain. Well, no, I don't, but you don't know mine. Let's agree that we've all had pain and move forward. Like, come on. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to feel things as deeply as some other people, frankly. I like to move on with my life. So let's just deal with it and move on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
People, they feel things way too deeply. It's like, stop it. You can choose to feel things, or you can have control of your emotions. This is possible.
Yeah.
And people just don't want to do that. And they're like, no, you have to comply with me being hurt. and emotionally hurt. It's like, no. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? We all learned this.
Right.
But I think it's a philosophical thing too. Not even philosophical, but just, man, like we should be able to look past words or just understand that they are words,
right?
And that's not to say that words can't be harmful and hurtful, and that's not to say that telling a kid hurtful things, they don't have the capability to kind of be like, oh, that's just some random asshole or something, or like, especially from their parent, telling your kid like you're a fuck up or something, like 5 years old. Words do matter in this situation, but as you become older, you should be able to understand, or should be able to just shrug things off and be like, oh, this person is insane, or they're stupid, or their opinion is irrelevant. I can move on. But people are still so emotional that they're like, oh, I'm gonna have to hit you or punch you because you said something I don't like, or oh, I'm gonna have to ruin your life, or it's like, relax, you fucking lunatics, man. Like, fucking read some fucking, I don't know, Socrates or something. I don't know, like, just gotta like some stoicism. Marcus Aurelius or something. Marcus Aurelius, right? Read some of him, or whatever. Like, control yourself. Go watch Star Trek with the Vulcans or something if you want that. I don't fucking know. Like,
well, even so, some good old fashioned Christianity too, but also it's empathy. Empathy, just understanding, and what the Christian thing, what I'm talking about is an understanding that you are not perfect, and neither are they. So let's just have an understanding that nobody is perfect. Everybody's going to make mistakes. That's, from my Christian perspective, I have that, but also it's empathy. It's being able to put yourself, maybe not in their shoes in the same time, but that there's empathy and sympathy, but being able to understand that they're imperfect, or they have a different circumstance, and I don't have to know or understand exactly that, but understand that you do have a different circumstance, and they do the same for me, and we move forward together. That's it. It's not like, okay, we gotta all come together in a drum circle and try and feel your pain. We don't really have to do that. Like, I'm acknowledging that you've had different, like AJ, you have lived a different life than me, right? But that doesn't mean that we're completely have nothing in common, or that I need to go and take you through the pain and hurts in my life and you need to do the same. And we need to kind of live in that space in the past. Like, let's move forward and go from there. I'm not going to diminish your experience and say, oh, well, mine is like, it's disrespectful, frankly, for me to go and tell you, well, you share something with me, and I'd be like, oh yeah, well, you think that's bad. Like, no, like, thank you. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a competition. Yeah. It's not a competition, right?
Exactly. So. People, and I feel we always get to this point. It's this competition between groups of people, and it's like, well, this happened, and this happened, and it's never constructive. Never constructive to get in this tit for tat. Well, here I can show you this video of this white person doing this, or this black person doing this, or this Asian person. It just gets, like, I'm like, this is not constructive. Nobody's gonna get anywhere with this. Nobody's benefiting whatsoever, right? But we just get petty, right? And we need forgiveness. Is such a huge, amazing concept, right? And it's funny too, I was watching something too today, and it was talking about the Iliad, and I was going to start reading that. I have that book, and it's a book that I guess at one point the Greeks and the people before that kind of carried around like the Bible, right? And it was like everybody knew the Iliad, from Homer, right? And in the story, it's with Achilles, and Hector kills his good friend, right? And he's trying to, get vengeance for his good friend. So he kills Hector, he, brings his body, drags it through the city, fights like a big god, does all this stuff, but he's still not satisfied, right? He still never feels okay, until one day the father of Hector kind of crawls in and like kisses his feet and says like, please, can I bury my son and do all this shit? And he's like, all I want to do is bury my son. He's like, I don't care. I'm not going to retaliate, anything like that. And like this act from the king itself made Achilles finally feel peace. And like he gave Hector, the body of Hector, to the king to bury him and whatnot. And it's like this not the retribution. It's not the retribution, the killing and all this stuff that brought him peace. It was this mutual understanding, and it was the kind of this forgiveness between enemies, and being like, okay, yeah, you can take your son, you can do this, and bury them and whatnot, right? And it was about forgiveness type thing, right? And there was even that message in Greek and stuff, and it's really a big thing in Christianity too, right? And if we don't forgive, we're just always going to keep doing the same things over and over to each other. And it's really hard to forgive. Like, it's not easy. Somebody kills your son and you're supposed to forgive that person. It'd be really hard for me to do that. But in order for us to get past things, that's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. There's horrible things that have happened throughout history and civilization and stuff like that, but it's never going to be paid back type thing the way people want it to be paid back or anything like that. We're just going to have to move on and look at each other as individuals, as not responsible for what our groups did, our ancestors did, and just to like move on from there, right? Instead of just holding this grudge that we have with each other for like past ills and stuff, because we shouldn't be blaming the sons for the sins of the father to begin with.
Yes.
That's, why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's illogical to do that. It's like some prehistoric, it's not prehistoric, but it's some primitive way of thinking, I think, to think like that.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending cascade, right? Like at some point, a generation needs to say, okay, that's enough. Let's find a way to move forward. Now, that being said, there are people who are feeling both the success from past generations and the pain, the success of this. They're I don't say rich, but they're dealing with the success that previous generations reaped for them. And then there are some that are dealing with the pain of the failures of past generations. And so it's not like everybody wakes up and is born with a completely clear slate. Yes, people can choose to make what they want of their lives, but not everybody's starting at the same point in the race. So that's tough to get past, but we have to find a way to move forward. We have to find a way to move forward.
That's the thing, right? I grew up poor.
Mm-hmm.
Parents divorced. I didn't grow up like I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth or anything like that. I don't want to go on about my life or anything like that. But it's when it comes to groups, it gets more difficult because then people are like, well, the GI Bill and this put people in the middle class and blah, blah, blah. And the black people didn't get in America. And that's perpetually, this is the reason, blah, blah, blah. Right. But it's like, okay, like, at some point we just got to be like, okay, you're in the situation you're in and we got to move out of it. But that's not me saying also pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because the conversation gets, muffled in some ways because there's obviously no opportunity in a lot of places for people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, right? In certain areas in America or whatever, right? It's not like there's jobs aplenty or something, right? Or good role models or et cetera, et cetera. So it's not as easy to pull or to move out of that situation. But that also has to do with policies and stuff that we have in place that, either send jobs overseas and all this stuff, the massive government regulation. Like, I think we are state is too large, right? I think that, like look in certain places that like have a high crime rate, like, I don't know, like America or something, right? What if the people there were able to just carry guns, like the regular citizens there that lived in those areas, instead of depending on police, which they don't trust already? What if we just empowered them more and allowed them to protect themselves more, and too, not say just take the police completely out of there, I'm saying, but people in America at the very least should have the right to carry weapons. That's their Second Amendment right, and to defend themselves. And there probably would be less crime in some of these areas if people didn't have to depend on the police getting there for 20 minutes. Somebody could have a legal gun. Somebody try to break in their home, steal their shit, they shoot them. Or they defend themselves or something, right? So, I think it's not like we like we're talking kind of about, we got to get over the things that have happened in the past, but there's obviously still barriers in the present today that are preventing people from, rising up and stuff. But at the same time, that doesn't really have anything to do with also the things of the past that happened in the past, because let's just say my grandfather made a law that screwed over your fucking family or something. Well, I didn't do it. Why am I being punished for it? Like, I didn't do anything, like, well, what do you want from me? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so, okay, if like, what can be done at this point? If it happened in a short amount of time ago, then you can have some type of retribution, give them money and shit or whatever, because somebody stole from you or something. But if it's so fucking long ago, then it's like it gets more difficult, and then it's just people were dwelling on things that happened in the past, and we're like, okay, how long are we going to do this? When it comes to Aboriginals in Canada, how long are they going to be complaining about us stealing their land? Forever? How long are they going to be complaining about residential schools and shit? Until I guess until things are completely better. And what if the reasons why some of the things are happening in their community, what if it's not all to do with residential schools and colonization? What if some of it has to do with biology, genetics? Maybe they're not going to get to the same educational levels as other groups of people. Maybe that's also going to be a case, an explanation. Now, explanation people don't want to hear and don't like to hear, and they'd rather just be like, well, it's 100% environmental. Everything is 100% environmental. Well, it's like, no, that can't be the case.
Yeah.
It's complex. It's super complex, because like, I'm not trying to also say that nothing bad happened to people throughout the generations. It's like, oh, you're just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, no, man, I know the government. I blame the government a lot, because I think it's the culprit behind a lot of the problems in society. And I blame the government for a lot of the situations that people are in, currently economically and financially, when it comes to divorce rates and all this other shit. Everything in society is based off of incentives. Humans are incentive-based creatures. And if you have certain incentives for them to do a certain thing, they're going to probably do that certain thing, right? So if you incentivize, single mothers, you're going to get a lot of single mothers over time. If you do the Jews go and make gangster rap and shit, when the rap before then was all like fairly up, like, it was like Black Power type, like, like brother, and let's build ourselves up, this and that, right? And then it goes and it turns to gangster rap and all this other shit, like there was people who did that. You know what I mean? Like, there were people who came in and deliberately did that type of shit and pushed that type of stuff on people. When it comes to the opioid crisis and stuff, right? People will be like, they're just stupid hicks. And dumb idiots, blah, blah. Okay, well, there's some reason behind that as well, too. Cops or doctors prescribe that shit like fucking candy. I think a company just today or yesterday, I saw CBC, they're going to be paying out, I don't know, I think 500 million, this something company in America, because in Oklahoma, they pushed all these drugs everywhere. So they have to, pay like 500 million to try to help clean it up or something. Right. So, there's lots of things, right, that have happened in history that have led to negative situations that people are in also today. But it also doesn't keep people down for as long as sometimes people say it does. And then sometimes people use that as an excuse for too long. And you're like, okay, but yeah, once again, it's complex. And I think we a lot of times people agree with each other so many things, and then we can turn each other away by diminishing each other's problems, right? When it comes to like black people and stuff, people on the right will say stuff that will be like, no, it's all bullshit, all lies. Cops don't do this or that. Cops are great. It's like, no, the cops are not great. Cops are fucking scumbags. The cops do fuck with people. They do fuck with black people. They do fuck with white people and shit. I saw just a video today from this libertarian site where they showed that it goes into some Chinese guy's house. These cops, they come in. I was going to show it, but I'm like, I'd probably get taken down. And there's this Chinese guy hiding behind the door, right? And it was just for weed, right?
Right.
And these guys are on their SWATs, and then the guy's like, hey, shoots the guy immediately, shoots him, just kills him.
Wow.
And the guy's just like hiding there, and he's like, hey, put your hands up. And one guy just kind of gets startled, and he's like, just kills him, right? And cops are scumbag. I'm not saying all police are scumbags and shit, but a lot of them are. And well, black people and shit, and in certain areas have been screwed over a lot by police and shit like that. So when you diminish that, you screw over like a bridge that we could have connected with and then agreed with a lot of other things together. We're like, oh yeah, the government is this, and yeah, we want to have more rights, or yeah, we all agree illegal aliens are fucking ruining our country and we got to get them out of here. There's so many things that we could work on that, that's our own ignorance can sometimes screw that over, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. We get in our own way, and I think one thing that's kind of perpetual is just being used by. I hate. I want to say the establishment, but it just feels so boogeyman-ish. Like, who are we talking about here? Who's really running things? And one point I make with Fred when we have our when we've chatted in the past is that the way, as much as we talk about the way things are, there are people who are absolutely like the way things are and are profiting from the way things are, or profiting from the division, profiting from the distraction of the general public, and carrying on their business behind the scenes and enriching themselves. And are very happy that people are completely divided and talking about things that at the end of the day don't really matter. And I don't know, we just have to kind of refocus a little bit on why are these conflicts, these perpetual conflicts, still going on? What's the origin to some of this stuff, and kind of make a decision that we're just not going to put up with it anymore. But to that point of idiocracy, so the guy before me got this, so why don't I get it too? Like, what about my rights, so to speak? At some point, somebody has to eventually say, you know what, you can have that, and I'll be okay.
Yeah. Right. It's all about we got to stop trying to repatriate people from other people's money and shit.
Sure.
Can we just start from a clean slate?
Yeah.
Almost, and be like, okay, nobody owes anything. Let's kind of start with a clean slate here. And but saying that, obviously, like anytime I say something, I don't like to say anything in a definition or a definite statement, because I always think, I'm like, okay, we'll start with a clean slate. But then I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, but there's those fuckers who did steal a lot, and they should fucking, pay a little bit. But if people could just stop holding grudges on for other people, and if they, like I said, if they learn, I don't know, maybe stoicism, learn a little bit of this type of stuff, they wouldn't dwell on things that they have no control over. If you have no control over something, there's no point dwelling over it. There's no point getting angry over it. Only focus on the things in your life that you have control and an impact on. That's it. Anything else, it's kind of pointless. Dwelling on that type of shit, it just makes you into kind of like a more bitter, angry person in general. Like just thinking about how much you hate these people and hate this, and you're like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, you see this white, that the first video I show was like, why can't we kill more white people? What kind of polluted minds are some of those people? Like, I wouldn't want to be in your fucking head thinking like the fucked up thoughts that are going through your head if you're thinking stuff like, why can't we kill more of these people? Like, I don't have that thought about any group of people. like that's insane. But people are actually like talking about that. Like, I would never say that about Muslims or the chosen people or whatever, right? I would never say that because that's wrong, right? Like, how could you, why would you do that? But you have to have a mindset where you're so oppressed in your own brain that you can justify yourself saying that. Like, maybe if I thought the same way they did, if I thought I was like living in the Jim Crow era and I was like oppressed and shit, then maybe I would think the same thing. But these people are deluded. They're deluded in the way they're thinking. Like, what the fuck are white people doing to you? Like, seriously, it makes no sense. Like they're not that bad. Like, you're in their country. You understand that. A lot of people were not like native, probably Americans. They immigrated to that country. Probably at least half of them. So you're like, really? Or at least 3/4 of them, like, really, man? Are you kidding me? Like,
well, it's very imprecise, and this is what we're talking about with the distraction and division, because really these people of color and white people have more in common than they have different. It's when you come down to class of people, to wealth and opportunity, that is where the division is. That's where the distraction is. So to simply have it be this imprecise black versus white versus brown versus whatever is not useful. But it's really when you talk about class, not color, that you can start to drill down and say, oh, okay, here are the real differences, not just the color of people's skin, because you're always going to have outliers. But then what is different from an opportunity standpoint, and that's where you start to have the conversations. That's where you start to do it. But this division by color, like when those folks are saying all white people, okay, but that's not fair. That's not fair, because I mean, you wouldn't want to be those same people who are lumping all white people together would not want to be lumped in with everybody, the worst of the worst in their own group, whatever group they belong to, whatever ethnic group they belong to. That's not fair. That's not fair as a human to a human. That's not fair. Nobody wants to be rolled into that. We all live our lives. Who said verbal armament? You asked me a class of rulers. Sure, you could say a class of rulers. That's fair. Maybe. But we were very happy with the way things are, with us being distracted and divided while they're allowed. Well, we let them get away with a number of things. I mentioned early in the show. I mentioned earlier in the show that talking about the news media, that the people who are supposed to be, go doing the investigations while we're all busy working. And if you watch in the U.S., it's Trump, 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 Trump. And in Canada, if I go to CBC, I'm pretty sure if I look at the homepage, you're probably still talking about an Andrew Scheer speech from 15 years ago. Let me just check here. CBC.ca. Just out of curiosity. Let's see about that. Either that or Trudeau possibly ducking the debates, which is funny because they won't let Max in. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. It's just they like us to be distracted here. They like us to not be able to focus on them and on the things, the shenanigans happening behind the scenes. Because while we're focused on all these issues dividing all of us, laws are being passed. Things are happening all over the world. The example I gave earlier, those Brazilian rainforests that are burning and took weeks before anybody in the media reported it. That's a big deal from an environmental standpoint around the world. And they're not reporting this stuff. They're not doing it the way they need to. They're really failing. That's why people are doing things like what we're doing now, having these kind of conversations online or looking for things in other places, for better or for worse. It's really unfortunate. We have to be reporters and commentators and everything too. We can't do that. We can't do this stuff. But anyways,
right.
All distracted. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's those crazy trannies who are mad they're not getting let in to to the women's shelter or whatnot, right? So it's that's funny shit. So what else do we have here? We got a story. Or did you want to show? You want to show any of your stories? I know I've just been stuff.
No, don't worry about it. I'm just kind of going through here. I have one that I can share, and then I probably need to drop in a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna end it shortly too, so we'll end it at 11 or something.
That's fine. Yeah, this will be a quick one, and then I have a quick video I can share to you, only maybe 20 seconds or so. Let me share my screen with all of you. Okay, and AJ, if you change the view, then you can see my screen too. So this I thought was interesting because I know that we have a lot of PPC's supporters in our chat, and we've talked about the debates. Maxime Bernier, yes. So if you can share my screen so that in the StreamYard, so people can see my my écran, s'il vous plaît, merci. Liberals are undecided if Trudeau's going to be in the first leaders debate. It's like, what? Of course, you better show up for this thing. And there's no mention in this article on Huffington Post about Maxime Bernier, so I thought that was very interesting as well. Sorry, AJ, you're about to say?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, he doesn't need to show. I guess, like, it'd probably be better for him if he doesn't show.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like yeah, exactly. Strategically speaking, him not see they're doing their strategies and their polls internally in their analysis, like, if we put our Justin Trudeau against straw man conservative or a generic NDP or whatever, he loses. So let's just not have him say anything, because he'll do better if he doesn't, and then let everybody else kind of fall down, and he can comment on it after. It's a very shrewd strategy, but I can kind of understand it. So
right, well, like that guy, he's just blatant with his strategy. He doesn't give a shit. Trudeau, they don't care how they're perceived, because they have the media that's always gonna cover for them and promote them anyways and shit. So doesn't matter. But it's good for him. Because like the NDP, the Green could make him look bad because just his record of what he's done for the past few years. They could just recount all of his ethics violations and all this and that. Then he's going to have to respond about all this stuff. But then a lot of his responses that he gave to the media initially eventually got debunked later on, because they're like, oh, well, actually, it wasn't for jobs, it was for this, the whole SNC Lavalin stuff. He made a lot of statements about why this and this happened, but then we're later on to be proven wrong. So, he's gonna look like he's got egg all over his face during the debates. So he doesn't want to even show. He probably won't show up to any of them. And then Max, they're just not going to allow him in whatsoever. But go ahead. with your
Yeah. So let me just read some highlights of this one. I won't go through the whole thing, but that debate, sponsored by Maclean's and CDTV and hosted by journalist Paul Wells, will take place on the 12th of September here in Toronto. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, New Democrat leader Jagmeet Singh, and Green Party leader Elizabeth May have all confirmed their participation. The Liberal Party is committed to participating in the Commission's debates, the Election Commission's debates. So why is there even a question then? Asked if Trudeau would attend the Maclean's and City TV debates or the planned Monk debate on foreign policy on October 1st, Kelly says the party is still among its options. Okay, so these debates that they're talking about are debates beyond the two minimum debates that the Election Commission is having, one in English, one in French. So these are debates over and above that, hosted by various media organizations. So what they're saying, what Liberals are saying, is that Trudeau will be at the official debates, but they won't necessarily attend some of these additional ones, which I think is interesting. And I would think of these. I mean, I think regarding Maxime Bernier and his People's Party, it'd be very interesting if he's banned from these other ones as well. Because I mean, the official Election Commission debates, they have their rules about, do they have to have an elected member of parliament? Yes, Maxime Bernier, although he wasn't elected as a PPC person. Then, what percentage of the vote do you think they're going to win? And I mean, you can't tell me that the Green Party is going to win a ton of seats.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So it's like, I mean, I can totally see the PPC having more seats than Green of all things, or even NDP in some parts of it, because I think NDP is going to take a massive dip under Jagmeet Singh, and has nothing to do with ethnicity or religion. It has to do that he's a worse version of Justin Trudeau, and why go with the fake version when you can go with the real thing, as terrible as the real thing is. So I think he's just going to serve a lot of votes over to Trudeau, and the NDP is going to be relegated to a minor party, an even more minor party than they are under his leadership. But time will tell. At some point, we should do like a bet. We should have like a little pre-election bet as to like what we think the numbers will be party by party across the country. Just how many we think NDP is going to get and whatnot, and just kind of have a little bit of something pre-election. But we can table that in a month or two, whenever this thing's going to be. So there's other organizations that are starting to express interest in holding debates. Are there forums? Scheer and May have confirmed the participation in the Monk debate, while Trudeau and Singh have yet to announce their plans. So now, interesting, and uncertainty over the Trudeau's attendance in Maclean City TV and Monk debates have inspired a fresh Conservative attack against the Liberal leader. Conservative released a press release saying that Trudeau is hiding and running away from debates ahead of the next election. And if he is going to do the minimum debates, I have to admit I must have missed that when I read this the first time. I think that I think strategically speaking, I mean, maybe the less is more. You want to probably say less because there's less opportunity, and with a very controlled message during the campaign, because there's less opportunity for you to be kind of confronted with things. So it's actually a pretty smart strategy. It's probably one Trudeau didn't choose for himself. Probably Mr. Butts, who's back in the fold, has decided to maybe give him that strategy as well. But meanwhile, the Liberals are attacking Scheer, avoiding questions about his stance on same-sex marriage and abortion because of that speech they dug up from 15 years ago. Here you see the Conservative leader has an action a media question in 7 days. I wonder what he's hiding. So Bill Morneau is doing all this other stuff here. Little dirty politics nonsense. And and here, this part I thought was particularly funny, because Liberals and Conservatives, at the end of the day, nothing changes. The attacks come days after both Liberals and Conservatives revealed new ads where both leaders wore light blue button-up shirts to introduce their party's campaign slogans. It's like you even can't choose different shirts. So Liberals or Conservatives, when it comes to Scheer and Trudeau, I can't really guarantee that anything's going to change anything. And even in the slogans, the same theme. Liberals, a choose forward, and then the Tories picked, it's time for you to get ahead. So we're going to be like, and then even the Greens, forward together. So it's like, Oh, jeez. I don't have a lot of hope here. And you notice in this whole thing about elections and the debates, not a thing mentioning the PPC trying to get into the debate mentioned as well. Completely shut out of this article. Granted, it's on the extraordinarily left-leaning Huffington Post, but anyway, so just wanted to share that one with you. I thought it was a very interesting piece here, and we'll see what happens to these debates. I mean, it's one thing for the Election Commission to have its rules, but I mean, in terms of the Monk debate or these other political organizations or media, there's no rules. I mean, it's certainly there's a lot of conversation about the PPC, so bring them to the party. Let's let bring Max to the debate, even one of them, and let him disqualify himself if he says something that's completely out of line. But hey, sunlight's the best disinfectant, or maybe it'll be something that spurs people to rally behind him and demand to have him speak more. I'm certainly open to. I'm not a PPC guy, but I'm definitely open to at least hearing what the man has to say, at least once in the public, not just on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like I don't even care if people support Max. I care if they're ideologically consistent or intellectually consistent. Because it's like I see a lot of PPC people being like, well, he's not following the rules, and he doesn't have a candidate, and he doesn't have a chance to win in the polls and all this other crap. And you're like, come on, man, he's being screwed over in these debates. Like, come on, don't give me this shit. Like, now all of a sudden the rules that Trudeau just made months ago are fucking concrete law that have been there for fucking generations. You're like, come on, man, are you kidding me? But I just wish they could at least see that and be like, hey, it's bullshit that he's not a part of the debates, but nonetheless, they want to win and they think he's going to split the vote. So I understand why they don't want to stand up for him and shit, or be like, this is bullshit. But nonetheless, like, could you at least agree that's bullshit? If you can at least do that, then I'll be like, all right, sure, you don't have to go and fight for it, whatever. But at least be able to acknowledge that. If you're not able to, and you're rationalizing it to yourself and shit, then I'm like, okay, then you're a clear fucking partisan.
Right.
But either way.
Right. Okay. And then I think for me, I just have one more thing to share. It's a video. And then I'm pretty much good if you want to wrap things up after that, or if you have anything else you want to share. But Fred took his family on a vacation this week. He went to Mont Tremblant. And I'll share my screen again, AJ. So if you can share it over here. And I know there's somebody, an audience member who doesn't always attend in the chat. I think we give her a hard time, but she's kind of, to me, the unofficial mascot of TCR, Blue Apple. Everybody's favorite, or everybody's favorite to hate on. And Fred was in Mont Tremblant, looking at the top of a mountain, and he realized she's right. She's been right all along. If you can share my screen in Streamlabs, I'll play his video.
All right. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
That.
So Blue Apple was right. The Earth is flat.
See, this is beautiful Canada, Quebec. And yeah, I guess Blue Apple is right. The Earth is flat. See, it's just a line. It's flat.
Blue Apple is right.
Wow.
The Earth is flat.
We're wrong all along.
So Blue Apple, there you go. There you go, Blue Apple. You were right all along. Oops, sorry. Somebody threatened me in the chat and suggested I do a reaction video to one of her videos. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I've always committed myself to never visit her channel. And plus, I don't really make videos to begin with. But if I did, I could legitimately say that I've never seen a Blue Apple video. And I would certainly, I'm not sure that I really want to, frankly. I don't know. I don't know that I'm ready to watch a Blue Apple video. How long are her videos actually, AJ? How long are Blue Apple's videos normally? Are they like 5 minutes? Or are they 20?
I don't know. They're not too
How
long,
much?
but
Yeah.
you know, I didn't even mention her. I wasn't mentioning her. You knew who I was talking about, but you know, I'm not trying to, you know, shit on her too much. I'm like, whatever. Like, you're do your thing. I don't care.
She is entitled to her opinions, I suppose.
Yeah, and also, you know, some people, like people. I'm not saying her, but some people like, you know, people to other YouTubers to call them out and say like, you know, start arguing with them and shit. I'm like, you know, I don't care. I don't want to give you subs and shit. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Give you a platform, give you attention. I'm not saying her name. You know, the majority of the time, it's like, you know, people like this person or whatever, because you know, I don't even care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to even give her support or anything like that. So I'll just say, you know, I'll just purposely not say their name, right? If I say their name, then, you know, it's because either they have tons of subs anyways, where I'm like, I don't care. But, you know, I'm just like, no, I don't want to give her any attention. So that's what people want. That's what they crave. They want some back and forth type shit. So it's like, whatever. You know, I'll just be like, less descriptive and not really say their name, etc. But,
right.
You know, so let's check out the chat here before we go. We're probably going to take off right away, guys. Did you say you had a video you wanted to show?
I showed it.
Oh, you did?
That was the Earth is Flat video. That was it.
Oh,
yep.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So thanks for joining us, Verbal, Faye, Lorne, Boss Man, Saxon. He says, I'm still crying about America and racist shit. I'm like, I don't know, man. Can we talk about stuff like that? Is that allowed? Not every time there's gonna be somebody like Boss Man. You're a Canadian. You can't. It's like, you know,
Canada has had its share of shenanigans too. I think that there's a lot of focus on the States, and we've had our share too, but nowhere near the same degree as what the Americans have done to each other as well. Not that we're any better, but in a way we are. So, Boss Man wants to know if he's allowed to respond. Do it quickly because we're about to wrap up. But sorry, AJ, go ahead.
Of course, he's allowed to respond, but I'm just saying that, like, it's just interesting, right? Like, whenever you talk about certain things, when what has to do with like white people or this or that, or somebody like him, or they chime in immediately and they're like, "You're crying." They're like, "Okay,
right.
you know, all right,
yeah.
All right." So yeah. Nobody talk about it whatsoever, right? Don't draw attention to shit like this. This type of stuff isn't important whatsoever. That, you know, you're having things that are taxpayer funded in America promoting shit like this on TV, and you're like, don't talk about it because you're Canadian. You're a fucking idiot. Okay, you're a fucking moron. If you're just well, no, like, let's just ignore this. Are you kidding me? Like, you know, the mainstream media should be fucking reporting on shit like that. You know, that type of racial division that is going on. But no, don't talk about it. But let the media promote all of their fucking shit, all of their racial division and bullshit stories and shit like that. But you talk about that? No, don't, man, don't. But you know, it's very typical of somebody I know. That's why I'm like, I can kind of anticipate most of his responses, because I'm like, you know, once again, whenever you talk about white people and some of the shit that they're facing or whatever, then it's just like, oh, you're this or that, you're complaining. But nonetheless, let's check out who else is in the chat. Saxon, see, look, I triggered him. AJ does not like when people respond. Needs a tissue. See, apparently I'm crying right now. Anti-white racism kills more Canadians than fentanyl. Okay, right. In the name of God. But see, that's the thing. People look at, like, they diminish a lot of this type of stuff that's going on right now, like this type of rhetoric that's being promoted and being like, oh, this is not a big deal. What are you talking about it? It's like, really? Do you not think, like, if we were doing this to any other group of people, it would be a big fucking deal. But it's okay to do it with other people. But it's just another way to get you to try to shut up about it, right? It's like, you stop, you just focus on this. Trust me, there's tons of shit like this that happens in Canada too, which I've reported on in previous videos as well. So I can report on stuff in America, in the UK, in Sweden, in Canada, in Egypt, Brazil, this and that. I can report on all over the place, right? Because guess what? We're a global world now, and borders don't exist. So people come in and out of my country continuously anyways. So we're all connected anyways, right? So either way. But okay, so I support AJ, so I'm gay to boss man. Yeah, exactly, right? Don't. He's a fucking troll, but I'm giving him attention, which he wants. Why do these trolls show up here if they don't like it? It's because they do like it, but then people hear things they don't like and they get really triggered by it, and they have to go into their preconditioned responses of how to respond to certain language, or when you're talking about certain subjects, like people that are conditioned to like react that way or something. Just like, oh, shut it down now, shut it down, stop it, insult, diminish, like liberal tactic 101. But either way, guys, I hope you all have a good night. I'm making this last way too long, and I don't know, I guess Frederick, yeah, his computer went to shit, so he's gone now. Hopefully he'll be back.
Boy. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be back on Wednesday, Thursday or something, and Slavey finishes off every one of my streams with taxation is theft, and I agree, taxation is theft.
Doesn't he start them off with that too, though, or?
He starts it and he finishes it, and
there you go.
He won't say sometimes anything, but I'll just see at the very end, I'll see Slavey's name, just taxation is theft. I'm like, you're always there with that anarcho-capitalism, man. Good on you, man. But take it easy, guys, and I hope you all have a good night. So go ahead.
So actually, before we end, so the next show, Saturday night at 9:30 Eastern. Which channel? Well, it won't be on yours, or will it? Fred, I'd kind of like him to test his setup before we do a show on it. My setup is working now, or it's been working the last few times we tried. So, where do you want to have the show next time so we can give our folks here a heads up?
Like whoever's thing works. Like it should be Frederick. It should be Frederick's on Saturday. Like that's
it
what
should be. Yeah, it should be.
So
yeah.
You're not really confident that his computer is going to be up and running?
I kind of like. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to work out a way to test with Fred. We'll do like an impromptu show sometime in the next couple of days to see if things are working reliably. And if we agree sound is good, connectivity is good, then he can host the show. If not, then I'll host the show on my channel. And what I will do is post something, kind of the event will be on my channel from, Friday or whatever, so that people know where it's going to be. We can post something into Discord. I don't know, but so that people know where to expect it. Because I think for folks, knowing where it's going to be and maybe posting something. And if we know for you that it's definitely going to be next Wednesday for you, then yeah, you can even post something from now for next Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern that it'll be on your channel. We'll just go from there. So I think giving people a little bit more certainty about where things are going to be will only help, since we're doing it between multiple channels. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Figure that out.
All right, I'll work with Fred on that, and I'll let you know. I'll send you a note in Telegram or something to let you know where it's going to be. We can promote it.
Yeah. Either way, then StreamYards works, and so that works pretty good.
Yeah, I'll probably be trying it out myself to see how it works for me too. So, but it seems to be working pretty well for everybody but Fred. Anyways, okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
it easy. Peace.